battering our state and even coast to coast, not just the West Coast. We're taking a live look through one of our tower cameras right now. We are certainly seeing the impacts here in Central Florida, as we have been all day.
Yeah, guys, again, as Michelle just mentioned, about 30 minutes past landfall. This is the moment we've been waiting for as the storm is coming in. How does that change? What are you guys looking at now?
We're looking at now the flooding threat that's going to likely be exacerbated. The second thing is the winds. The winds have gradually picked up, but they're going to get even stronger overnight tonight into tomorrow morning. My biggest concern are flash flooding. We're under a flash flood warning here across basically all of Central Florida. I don't think I've ever seen that. Have you, Tony?
I've not.
Like
even with Ian, I mean, it was a sharp gradient. Up north and west, they weren't covered, but they are now.
Yeah.
The other thing, just the one point that I might make here, is that it arrived a little bit earlier than we thought. And the point I'm trying to make here is it's moving a little bit quicker than maybe originally thought. That should limit some rain, not a lot, but maybe just enough to help some communities out.
But does that cause other problems when it's moving so much faster?
It can. I mean, if you've got tornadoes in your area and it's moving quicker, you got less time. But in this case, you want it to speed up now because the severe threat is offshore, because the quicker it moves across, the chance for additional significant rainfall may be lower. That's the thing we're going to have to watch.
Okay. We're talking about like a 30-minute to 40-minute advance. Like we were expecting landfall around 9.
Right.
It made landfall around 8:30. So we're talking again, but when you're talking about rain rates of 5 inches, 6 inches an hour, 30 minutes is going to make a difference.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. So,
especially when the rain rates are 5, 6, 7 inches per hour. So,
yes.
I mean, that's 3.5 inches rain, right?
Yeah, that'll spare some communities 3 inches of rain. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully, this continues to move on its
trying to stay positive. All right, let me take you back outside right now. It's going to be a long night. We're going to be tracking Milton's every move. Here's a live look in now, downtown Orlando. You can see the very, very heavy rain there is going to be with us for several hours to come. We want you guys indoors. This is not the time to be outside. Clearly, an event like this, you got the combination of heavy wind and rain, and we still have that extreme wind warning now for about another 20 to 30 minutes from Tampa Bay over towards Ruskin, 75 to 75. The power outages are continuing to grow here across Central Florida. Marion County now with 18,000 folks without power. Orange County and all the other counties are beginning to see more and more power outages as well. There's Milton right now, 8:30 p.m. east-northeast, not northeast, east-northeast now at 15. You can see the winds down to 115 miles an hour. Pressure is coming up. That's some good news there. Center of circulation right near Sarasota, Siesta Key, coming ashore. There's the backside of that eye wall right there. And as it continues to move off towards the east-northeast, you can see that track is going to parallel the I-4 corridor. Let's take a look now at live radar. You can see the spin. This is the Tampa Bay radar. Multiple flood advisories. The strong gusty winds, 87, 96, 95, 82. So they are beginning to come down, but those types of winds can create significant power outages. Speaking of the wind, 55-mile-an-hour wind gusts there at OIA. Executive up to 60. You can see up here in Marion County, we're in the 30s. But here, all of a sudden, we had a 61-mile-an-hour wind gust up towards Daytona's International Airport. So we're going to keep an eye on that. Multiple flood warnings for most of Central Florida. This extends northward to DeLand, Sanford, up towards Daytona Beach, and a slew of them that encompass Marion and Palm Coast up towards Palatka. These are all going to lift up towards the north and the east. So multiple flood warnings and advisories. Thankfully, as of right now, there are no flood emergencies. Of course, with additional rainfall, we'll have to watch that very carefully. Last but not least, here's a look now at our peak wind gusts from today. Leesburg, just a short time ago, 58 miles an hour. Over towards Sanford now. There's that gust cam. Up to 63.
Yeah, so you're talking about the winds, Tone, and the rain. Here's a look at how much additional rainfall we could see from now until about late Thursday night into early Friday. So areas along the coast, especially in Flagler and Volusia County, some areas could pick up upwards another foot of rainfall. I'll explain why in a second. But most of us here, especially along this brown swath here, that includes Sanford and much of the Orlando metro on north, we're talking about an additional 5 to 8 inches of rainfall on top of everything that we've seen so far already. So you can see all this rainfall could cause flash flooding concerns. Now, I'm going to go county by county with you and show you how much additional rainfall some of these areas could pick up. As we go into some of the counties out towards the west there, we are expecting an additional 4 to 8 inches of rainfall. If Tone can flash forward my graphic, it looks like it's stuck there, Tone. The clicker is stuck. Here's a look at how much rainfall we could see for some of these counties here. We are expecting additional 4 to 8 inches of rainfall in some areas here. It's locked up. Okay, I think we put a lot of stress on our computers, so literally my computer has crashed. It's really angry. So I'll get those county by county graphics for you next time I see y'all.
Okay, that's okay, Cam. Thank you guys for working so hard. We really do appreciate it. So we have just been talking about all the risks that we could get here in Central Florida, and one of the biggest ones was severe weather, the risk for tornadoes, and we didn't see that anywhere more evident than in Brevard County.
Absolutely. Something happened there, pulled through, ripped off the roof off of an area there. We've got WESH 2's Tony Atkins there live in Brevard County, giving us a look at what else he's found since we last saw him. Tony?
Well, Justin, Jesse, just really destructive winds here. And again, we are on the East Coast here. I want to just show you here, this branch just fell, this limb fell from this tree. And this is not light at all, but as you can see here, snapped like a twig. And it's actually one of several that are here in this parking lot. I'm going to put this down because I also want to show you some more of that damage, Jake, if you just want to carefully get over those twigs. But take a look at this. This is the supercuts that I told you about an hour ago. I have a flashlight light here, and I just want to show you just inside just the amount of damage that was done to this about a few hours ago. Now, I did talk to somebody who said that he was actually in the parking lot, and he claims that he saw this tornado come through this area and just kind of rip through this building. Immediately, he called his father to pick him up. But again, just a scary thing to have to see. And even if you don't see it, like we're here live on TV looking at the aftermath, and it's just so surreal to see just this type of image. Now, this is the front side of the building. Earlier tonight, I was on the other side of the building where the break room, or it looked like a kitchen area. That window was totally destroyed, and pretty much akin to what we see here. It's just really significant damage. But this isn't the only business here, even in this plaza, that has seen that significant damage. I want to kind of test the limits of our range here, but there are several other businesses down here that were also affected, including a medical facility as well as a eye doctor here. But just, yeah, these windows obliterated by these strong winds. In the past hour, one thing we did notice is that the line crews, they've been working really hard throughout this storm, as that band of rain and the strong activity came through earlier tonight. They've been working to get power back on in this area. Unfortunately, they were able to do so. A lot of people seeing the lights back in their neighborhoods, but also they're seeing some of that damage that was left behind. There's another building that I plan on showing you at some point tonight, just beyond this plaza here, where you can see the windows busted out, and the people, maybe people that work for that business, they're inside clearing out damage. They turn the light on in there, and they're just working to clean up that area. But really significant damage for a point for those just joining us. There was a point here along A1A where people weren't allowed to drive through because there were down power lines, and there were linemen working to get that, restore the safety to this area. Now traffic is back flowing, but if you do plan on driving along A1A here, you can see it's very dark, and there's just tons of damage. We showed you the Wells Fargo, but we're going to continue. Actually, right there, I see Jake is on. It looks like a group of workers there kind of assessing damage here along the road. So we're going to stay on top of this. Again, this was like that first significant band of rain and strong winds that we've seen here in Brevard County. Hopefully it's the only, but, obviously we're going to monitor this storm as it comes through. Hopefully this area could get some relief, because there's still a lot of cleanup to be done over here already as Hurricane Milton continues to make its way toward Florida and across the state. I'm reporting live in Brevard County. Tony Atkins, WESH 2 News.
All right, Tony, thank you so much. And one thing that you notice in Tony's shot is how calm it is. Nothing is happening there right now. Certainly not the case in this shot. What we're showing you here, this is Bradenton, Florida. So this is obviously on the west coast, just south of Tampa Bay. This is where the area kind of where it made landfall. And as you can see, it is just pounding rain, driving rain, sideways rain, which is what Gail Pascal Brown mentioned before. That's never a good sign when you're seeing sideways rain. But these are the conditions that we were forecasting for this area because it is so close to landfall. This is just north of Siesta Key, Bradenton. And this area is going to be taking this kind of a beating for a little while. The storm is moving, good news, quicker than we anticipated. So hopefully, you know, that will reduce the amount of rainfall and flooding that they get here. But as you can see, they are just in the thick of it right now.
Oh, yeah, and that's not the only place. Let's go ahead and take another look at another camera from the Department of Transportation on the 429. We want to show you that one. There you see it right there, rain and wind. If you take a closer look, you see that pole in the middle there, one of the overhead lights there. If you take a look at the tip of it to the left, you can see it shaking up and down, and then the shadow of the light right there, you can see kind of the rain, again, as Michelle mentioned, moving sideways, the wind pushing it there. So again, this is the 429, so pretty much middle of Central Florida. This runs, you know, more about 20 miles or so, a bit more, from 441 in Apopka down to I-4 in Osceola County, for folks who might not be aware. The end of that is kind of in the Four Corners area, and that's one area that Tony has been saying for quite a bit that could be seeing some of the heaviest impacts and effects there in our area. So as you can see there, definitely coming down there.
I'm glad that there aren't cars on the road in that shot. Now we're taking you over. This is to Lake Placid in Highlands County, and this is a mobile home park that sustained a lot of damage. Look at this. You can see people running through this area, and there were mobile homes that were just torn apart. So this is the damage. Look, this is what we say when they just shredded things up everywhere. So we're going to continue to bring you just images from across the state because we're going to get lots of them as we move throughout the night here.
Yeah, and while we've been in tornado warnings for most of the afternoon and the evening, we've been kind of collecting video of twisters that have been spotted throughout the state.
Yes, so we do want to send things over to Darren Stoltzfus. Darren, what are you working on?
Yeah, we've seen a lot of videos just like this one. Well, we've seen a lot of videos from tornadoes, or at least they think they're tornadoes around Central Florida and beyond. So let's take a look at some of the video captured as people just grab their phones and try to get what's going on.
Oh my God. Wow. This thing is no joke. Look at the debris in the air. Look at the debris. Oh my God. Oh, this is beautiful.
I'm not sure beautiful is the right word for that, but it's video shot of a tornado touching down in Hendry County, just west of Clewiston earlier today. You can see when the video zooms out just how big the top of that tornado is. Let's take a closer look at this clip. A viewer shot this in Okeechobee County earlier today. Still kind of hard to tell, but it does look like that touchdown because you can almost make out what appears to be debris spinning around that twister. And in Palm City, south of Port St. Lucie, a viewer shot this video of a tornado trying to get its act together. Pretty amazing to look at that in the background, and in the foreground it just still looks like a breezy day. Again, we're in the beginning of Milton's wrath. Don't have a lot of details of the extent or the damage or the injuries caused by today's tornadoes, but I'm sure we'll get those throughout the evening and early on into the morning. Back to you.
All right, Darren, thank you. Thank you for collecting all of those videos. I want to take you back over to the West Coast because obviously that's where they're taking the brunt of the storm right now. And it's just been pounding rain on top of our crews over there.
Yeah, and of course, the storm surge is one of the big concerns out in the West Coast, Southwest Florida, especially the Tampa Bay area. That's where WESH 2's Justin Shecker is live, where conditions have been steadily and quickly going downhill. Justin?
These conditions have deteriorated the last couple of hours. We're here in Tampa, northeast of downtown, about 60 miles north of where this major hurricane made landfall in Sarasota. It appears Tampa Bay has avoided a direct hit. We are feeling the wrath of Milton at this hour. The wind gusts are getting more and more powerful as they whip this rain in all directions. It has been this way for a couple hours now. Like you guys were saying, we'll have to wait till the sun comes up tomorrow to see the extent of the damage. But our crew put safety first. We moved away from Bayshore Boulevard because, again, there was that major concern about the storm surge, which already devastated the Tampa Bay region a couple weeks ago during Helene. But this storm is definitely a rainmaker. And these are some strong wind gusts, hurricane force winds that are whipping through Hillsborough County in the Tampa Bay area. You can feel the rain just smacking me in the face here. The trees are blowing around. Now, for the most part, on Hillsborough Avenue behind me, we have seen, that might be the strongest wind gust I have felt out here tonight. We have seen very few cars on the roads. We know county officials, Tampa's mayor, they were warning people to hunker down, to stay inside. And this is definitely the worst of the weather we have felt here north of downtown Tampa. Again, we're about 60 miles north of where this major hurricane made landfall at Siesta Key in the Sarasota area. We continue at this hour to feel the wrath of Hurricane Milton as this relentless rain just keeps on pouring. The wind gusts are not letting up as this hurricane now moves its way into central Florida. Reporting live in Tampa, I'm Justin Shecker, WESH 2 News.
All right, Justin, thank you. Go ahead and grab some cover there as those gusts, we saw them there live, kind of hitting a little bit harder, so get you some cover there. All right, Florida's Gulf Coast, of course, bracing for devastating impacts from Milton, as we just heard from Justin.
Yeah, so we want to take you over to our other coast, also expecting storm surge. Let's get over to WESH 2's Haley Crumbleholm. Haley, if I look at our radar, it looks like the rain is coming down. Are you seeing that outside?
Yeah, we are seeing quite a bit of rain, and the wind comes and goes. It goes with really strong gusts, then it's just a general wind, then it gets really strong again. But you can see we're in this parking lot here. You can see that it is starting to flood here, and just in the amount of time we've been here, this has risen a bit. The rain has been coming down. It hasn't stopped in the last couple of hours, and with the wind, it is coming in sideways at times. Now, we do have some video of what it looks like downtown right now. Evacuations were ordered for parts of Volusia County. We're in downtown Daytona Beach, and even though it's pretty clear of people, we have seen police officers out here making their rounds, keeping an eye on businesses. Now, people seem to have heeded the warnings of the county and the request that they seek shelter or they stay home, because by 3 o'clock this afternoon, the shelters in this county had about 800 people inside of them. Now, the sheriff's office also shared some videos of a briefing they did with their high water team earlier today, but they did make a point of saying as conditions get worse for people that decided to stay home and hunker down, it may take some time for those teams to be able to get to people. And even if you're not in an area in Volusia County that required evacuations, you are under a curfew. As of 8 o'clock tonight, that curfew went into effect. They want people to stay home and ride out this storm. For now, live in Volusia County, Haley Crumbleholm, WESH 2 News.
Haley, thank you. And just as we were seeing in that shot behind Haley, even more so here, look at this major street flooding. This is over on the West Coast. Look at that transformer explosion. This is Sarasota. Not shocking to see this kind of video coming out of that area. This is very close to where this hurricane made landfall. Looks like a river flowing through those streets right there, Jesse.
Yeah, let's get you a little bit further south as well from Sarasota down to Fort Myers, where you can see this is a video of flooding in downtown Fort Myers, Lee County. You can see the cars plowing through it. Definitely not the best advice to plow through inches of water like that. That person quite lucky they're not hydroplaning or floating away at this point. But you can see that's downtown Fort Myers right next to the river, and of course that leads out into the Gulf. So they were expecting some of that storm surge to come into downtown. Right there, again, downtown Fort Myers in Lee County.
We always say, turn around, don't drown. Look at this video. This is absolutely incredible. This is from the Treasure Coast International Airport in Fort Pierce. You can see the flames were flipped over. But this is that same area that we talked about before, Jesse, in St. Lucie County, where officials confirmed that there were multiple fatalities after a string of tornado warnings. They confirmed that to our West Palm Beach station. That was WPBF. The deaths were in the Spanish Lakes Country Club, but in this same town in Fort Pierce. And look at this damage. That plane is upside down. So just imagine the kind of wind gust that you have to have to flip over an entire plane. And it's not even the only vehicle that we've seen tossed over in this storm. I mean, I saw just a video of a car not long ago, like a big truck. We're bringing in our team of meteorologists again, unless do we have one more thing to show people? I'm sorry, Jesse, go ahead.
Oh, no, just one more video that we wanted to show you real quick. This is in Satellite Beach of the flooding. This is our area. This is Brevard County, just north of Melbourne. You can see some of the flooding already making it up to the streets, up a bit of a few driveways there. there that you see in that video. So definitely that water starting to rise on the eastern coast as well after about an hour and 15 minutes after, about 45 minutes after Milton has made landfall on the west coast. So yeah, let's bring you guys back in on that. So 9:15 in the evening, kind of resetting a bit weather-wise. What are you guys taking a look at now?
So I just ran some updated rainfall totals, and there are many 5 to 7+ inch rainfall totals already, and we're not even, I would say, halfway done yet. This is going to go through late morning on into the afternoon. So think about what else is coming.
We're easily going to pick up another half a foot to 10 inches of rain. By the time this is all said and done, I really think many locations will be looking at a foot of rainfall. No, I mean, just from the foot, we're not even halfway done. We're still in the thick of it right now.
I don't know if you know this, but is that the most rainfall we've seen from a storm here? Because I do remember Ian was a rain maker. That was Ian, right? That was the rain maker?
Yeah. Up to 19, 20 inches.
Yeah, I think Ian's higher.
Okay, Ian was higher.
But again, this is not said and done yet.
Of course not.
Exactly,
no,
exactly. Okay.
Not at all, and that's 6 to 10 on top of what's already out there.
Correct.
Yeah.
And on top of that, the ground is saturated and we haven't seen the worst of the winds. My fear as we go into the overnight hours is we are going to see trees down, power lines down, and unfortunately, hopefully this doesn't happen, more damage. Trees maybe on roofs or trees, branches falling on power lines, which will knock out power to folks. So we're already seeing thousands of folks without power already, and we haven't seen the worst of the winds.
And just a note to what you said, if trees falling on your house, I mean, we're in the overnight hours. People are starting to go to sleep now. This is always the worst time for these conditions to come through our area. And I heard I can't remember if it was the governor or somebody said, sleep with things like a pillow around you, or just make sure you're protected. It's just terrifying to think if you have a tree like outside your bedroom window.
That's why I always say, you know, before hurricane season, or at least, pretty close to it, look at your yard, see what's going on. If something looks like it needs to be trimmed back, do that for cases like tonight. The other thing is there's going to be a real big rise on the St. John's. There's going to be some major flooding there as all of this is draining and moving up north towards Jacksonville. So many different angles. The storm surge, you guys were just talking about that. The one good thing, the severe threat is over.
It is.
It is.
Okay. But we had almost 100 tornado warnings.
Wow.
Okay, and I want to verify, put this in perspective. This is for the Melbourne office, the Tampa office, in Miami.
I will say the governor said had a number of 116 throughout the state.
Throughout the state.
Throughout the state.
So that adds the Keys. It also adds up to the north there. So
That's a lot.
It's a lot no matter
It's a
what.
lot.
Yeah. All right, let's get this moving here. I kind of want to show you what's going on. I'll take you back outside right now. We've had some really cool tower cam shots tonight everywhere, and some of them are certainly showing signs of prolific rain. Others are showing a little bit of a break right now, maybe a little bit of a break here in Orlando, but it is not going to last long. I cannot stress this enough. You need to be indoors. We don't want you on the roads. You don't know how high the water is that you may be trying to travel through. You just don't need to be out. There's no reason to be doing that in a situation like this. All right, 9 o'clock advisory. Winds at 115 miles an hour. This is going to move off now towards the east-northeast, not the northeast. And as this comes ashore, you're going to see the rain really begin to fill in. See the oranges and the reds here down towards Winter Haven? This is going to fill in over Orange County, then Brevard County, then Volusia County and Seminole County. We are a long ways away from done with regards to the rain. And we talked about the beaches, storm surge warning now. Once that storm gets off our east coast there, during the late morning, early afternoon hours, we're going to see that strong northeasterly wind. Beach erosion, nearshore roads could be washed out. We're always keeping an eye on A1A up there in Flagler County. There's been a lot of restoration projects underway at our local beaches up and down from Brevard all the way up towards Flagler County. You can see the back edge now coming through Tallahassee. So it is moving. That's the good news. The bad news is we still have a long way to go. Let's take a look at Tampa. There's your center of circulation. We just pinged a wind here, close to 78, 88 miles an hour there just a couple of moments ago. I'm going to refresh these winds as the strongest winds are now moving east to the Tampa Bay area. You can see 77 up to 90, now back to 80 in the heart of the bay there. Off to the east, 75-mile-an-hour wind gusts just to the north of Tampa. Look at Orlando. 60, 55, Sanford's International Airport, 63. So the winds are starting to increase here through the interior as Milton is beginning to lift up towards the east-northeast. Take a look now, Daytona Beach, 61-mile-an-hour wind gusts right there. And we have multiple flooded warnings from I-4 towards I-95, I-4 corridor. Just about everybody is under a flash flood warning right now because of the continuous heavy rain. Speaking of rain, look at this. Titusville, Canaveral, Melbourne Beach, down towards Rockledge, anywhere from 6 to 7.5 inches of rain, and more is on the way. We'll continue to track that hour by hour. Joining me now is Cam with more on Milton.
That's right. We are still in the thick of it in terms of the winds. In fact, we're expecting even stronger winds overnight. Here's some of the top wind gusts. Tony mentioned a few earlier, but here are some more. 55 in Orlando, at 38 right now in Melbourne, 56 in Daytona Beach. I think these winds will continue to ramp up as we go into the overnight hours. As we go through the overnight hours, here's a look at Milton. So Milton made landfall. Now the center circulation is going to move inland. So these winds will begin to ramp up here across central Florida. Expecting wind gusts around 72 miles per hour just before midnight tonight in Kissimmee. Almost 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts in St. Cloud, 64 in Claremont, and in Winter Haven, we're looking at wind gusts over 60 miles per hour as well. Around 3 to 4 o'clock in the morning, we're expecting 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts in some areas in Lake County, and then we're going to see tropical storm strength winds all across the board here. So winds well over 39 miles per hour across the I-4 corridor on eastward, and then finally Milton moves its way offshore. But look at the coast. Coastal areas will still see those strong winds for an extended period of time, a bit longer than inland spots, because you're going to still see that wrap around and those strong winds even as Milton moves offshore. And then as we go into Thursday afternoon, finally inland spots still breezy, winds sustained about 10 to 20 miles per hour, gusting over 30 at times. But for folks along the coast, we're still expecting wind gusts well over 35 to 40 miles per hour until about late Thursday night into Friday. That's when those winds will gradually subside for folks along the coast, and inland spots will see those winds return back to normal. So tonight, hurricane made landfall, downpours, and the tornado threat. Although the tornado threat looks to wane a bit already, although we're not in 100 officially in the clear yet, though. Overnight tonight, hurricane conditions with very strong winds, and then tomorrow, Milton moves into the Atlantic, and we are expecting coastal rain showers out there. Here is a look at some of the county by county graphics I couldn't get to early because my computer system literally crashed. From now into tomorrow afternoon for Flagler, Volusia, Brevard counties, we're expecting winds sustained of 50 to 60 miles per hour, gusts around 70 to 80 at times. I would think the 80-mile-per-hour wind gusts are going to be more towards Brevard County, 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts up into Flagler County, 4 to 10 inches of rain. So the 4 to 10 inches of rain, the higher amounts are going to be up north. So areas like in Volusia County and Flagler counties, you'll see that additional 10 inches of rain, while areas to the south in Brevard County, I think you're looking at more an additional 4 to about 6 inches of rain. So the higher amounts are going to be the farther north you are, including our friends and neighbors in Volusia and Flagler County. Wrapping it all up here for you for your Central Florida certified most accurate forecast. One more day of this, guys, and mostly in the morning. Once we get into about midday, our coastal communities will see still some gusty winds, and then by the evening, our coastal communities will see those winds die down. Finally, as Milton moves away, we get some sunshine and much drier weather for our area.
All right, Cam, thank you very much. We want to get you guys some information in Volusia County. The closing down the bridges on the Intracoastal starting in about 7 minutes at 9:30 tonight to restrict the access there. So the sheriff's office will keep the bridges closed until the winds die down. Remember, once it gets to a certain wind speed, emergency responses will not happen and they close those bridges down. So westbound lanes will be limited to essential travel on that bridge. Again, this is the Intracoastal. And of course, remember, that curfew still in effect until 8 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Now, we have shelters open across Seminole County, and there is one in Sanford. That's where we find WESH 2's Greg Fox. He is at Bentley Elementary School, where people have been bracing for Milton's arrival.
We're at Bentley Elementary School in Sanford, Seminole County. This is one of 8 shelters that are being provided to people. More than 500 people are in Seminole County shelters as of early evening on Wednesday. And this one is special because it not only handles special needs like 2 others, but it also handles pets like 1 other, Lyman High School. So this really handles everything. It's general population, special needs, and also pet friendly. Obviously, if you come to a shelter, you're going to have to show an ID. It is policed by Sanford Police, by the Seminole County Sheriff's Office, round the clock. So it is very secure, and you can see inside that there are workers, some of the many people who are volunteering to take care of the nearly 100 people that have checked into Bentley Elementary School shelter here in Seminole County. This is going to be important as right now things are getting very, very dicey here in Seminole County with a lot of rain coming down. At some point, the winds are going to be too strong for most people to want to try to venture out. So it's important. An executive order was signed earlier today telling people that if you're in mobile home communities, if you're in low-lying, flood-prone areas, you really need to get out. The shelters are perfectly able to handle you. Obviously, no weapons, no drugs, no alcohol. You should absolutely bring medications that you need. Bring some snacks, but they are providing meals. At Bentley Elementary School in Sanford, Seminole County, Greg Fox, WESH 2 News.
Greg, thank you so much. And we have been stressing this point. If you don't need to be on the roads, you absolutely should not be, especially now because things are really starting to pick up in our area. I believe we do have some video to show you. Some of the roads are impassable. Okay, we don't have it, but it's in Sumter County. We're getting reports of several roads being blocked by trees.
Yeah, I mean, it's a scene that we've been seeing across all of Central Florida, across the state, everywhere Milton is having some effects. We also want to get you out to Flagler County as well. People in Bunnell being asked to limit the use of water right now. City crews checking out the lift station on North Anderson Street. So the city says the water system, as you can imagine, being pushed to the limit right now because of all the rain and the water going down the drains from businesses and houses that all lead to Bunnell's sewer system. So again, all people who live in Bunnell, the city's asking them to limit their water use for the time being as the storm continues.
Okay, we also got some new pictures of flooding. This is in Palm Coast. If you live in this area, you might be seeing this as well. A viewer named Christina sent us these pictures from around 6 o'clock tonight, and you can just see standing water in front of a home, and what was in front of that home was what looked like a mailbox, like on its own island over there. This picture here is a neighborhood road underwater, and again, you should not be out on the roads right now because this picture was taken in the daylight. Now it's dark. You have a whole other problem on your hands. Another picture shows water starting to push off of the road in a neighborhood and into front yards. And we still have several hours of rainfall to go. I mean, you heard Tony and Cam talking about we could get another half a foot of rain. So this situation could get even worse as we go on throughout the evening here.
Yeah, I just talked about Bunnell's water situation. We've also got a similar thing happening in Castleberry. City leaders there asking people to help them conserve water ahead of Milton's landfall. So they say do your laundry, run your dishwasher today, starting tomorrow through Friday. The utility company wants everyone to only use water for necessary things like drinking, cooking, and personal hygiene. So avoid washing clothes, doing dishes, try not to take a long shower, and make sure to turn off your sprinklers if they're on a timer. The city says by doing this, it will help prevent the sewer from overflowing and overtaxing the lift stations, which then could force them to lose power and stop working. So use a little bit of less water in Castleberry to try and keep the demand from overextending the system there.
Okay, so now that Milton has made landfall, all of Central Florida is starting to see some sort of impacts, and that includes here in Orange County.
Yeah, wind gusts and rain starting to impact our area. WESH 2's Kristen Lago live from Winter Park tonight. Kristen, how are the conditions where you're at?
Yeah, I think you both mentioned it there. I mean, we've been feeling these impacts all day, right? We've been seeing the rain, we've been seeing the wind, but in the last hour or so, I'd say they've gotten progressively worse. I want you to take a look here behind me. I'm just going to step aside so you can kind of see the steady rain coming down right now. It's gotten worse since we arrived just a bit ago, since we set up the shot, and it looks a little breezy right now, but that could be a little deceiving, I think, because we've been standing out here and we've been getting these large wind gusts coming in. So while it is steadily breezy, we are feeling a heavier wind. Michelle and Jesse both said it. I mean, these are not conditions that you want to be outside, especially driving on. There's so many dangerous conditions on the roads. You can be at risk for down power lines, down trees. I mean, just the wind alone is a scary situation to be driving in, and we're not even into the thick of it. Hurricane Milton has made landfall, but it is coming across central Florida, so we do expect these conditions to get worse. But I mean, you can see it right now. The rain's steadily coming down sideways, especially with that wind, and we'll continue to bring you a live look at these conditions so you can stay in the safety of your own home. Just tune into WESH. You can see these conditions and know that it's just not safe to be outside, especially on those roads. But we'll bring you another look as the night progresses into the early morning. But for now, live in Winter Park, Kristen Lago, back to you.
You're watching continuing coverage of Milton from WESH 2.
Welcome back to WESH 2's continuing coverage of Hurricane Milton. If you have been with us throughout the evening here, you know that the hurricane has already made landfall about an hour ago near Siesta Key as a Category 3, which is what we were expecting. This powerful storm has already brought flooding to the West Coast and tornadoes throughout the state of Florida. You're taking a live look at a camera from Naples that has also taken a lot of impact from this storm. We saw a pier over there at one point that was just rocking in the waves as they were crashing right into it.
And of course, Naples just in southwest Florida, just south of the Sun Coast to the Sarasota, Siesta Key area, where Milton made landfall, as Michelle said, about an hour ago. We've also got a look at our radar on the left there. You can see that's Milton's current standing. On the right, that's our tower cam looking down towards downtown Orlando. You can see it shaking a little bit. The gray sky there, definitely. We are here in the middle of it.
And this is what we've been waiting for. I feel like we've been watching the storm, guys, for weeks. I mean, we saw that it was going to form, and we're finally here past landfall, but we still have so many more hours of impacts to come. And Cam, can you walk us through some of the things that we're still concerned about in the overnight hours?
3 things. Storm surge on both the Gulf and the Atlantic side. The second thing is winds. Well, the winds are starting to ramp up, and the third and final impact, flooding. And this is not even the bulk of all of it. So we've already started to see flooding. We're still looking at additional, I would say, easily a half a foot of rain on top of everything that we've seen. So this is just going to literally make the situation worse for many folks.
I just want to say one thing. What you notice Cam left off that list is the threat for severe weather and tornadoes. We're out of that threat right now.
Yes.
So we can rest easy knowing that we shouldn't get any more tornadoes throughout the overnight hours.
That's
now.
a very good point, but I would put a little caution to that. I would say, if we get an additional 6, 7, 8 inches of rain, you have to watch the streams and creeks. So if you live near one of those, they can come up fairly quickly. But it was rapid fire there, just to be able for me to talk to Cam now without having to rush to get a new warning on the air. That does help us in us trying to update a whole bunch of graphics. You were just working on the county by counties.
Tony, we had 98 tornado warnings, not just, and I want to specify that wasn't just here all in Central Florida. This is all in Central Florida and in South Florida between the Miami, Tampa, and Melbourne office. 98 tornado warnings.
And I was going to say, the thing we're starting to see now, and I just made an update to some of the winds, but they're actually getting even higher than that as Milton Center is getting a little bit closer to us. It'll be south and east of the I-4 corridor. So Cam was talking about the saturated grounds, the winds knocking over trees. We got to be mindful of that as well tonight. And never, ever go out at night because there could be a power line down. More people are killed or significantly injured after the storm as opposed to before the storm. So we just got to be careful. Let's be smart about it. That's all I'm saying.
Absolutely. Going back real quick, guys, if I may, to the tornado warnings, because that's such a big deal. 98 of them, more than 100 statewide. It might be too early to qualify or quantify, but seeing that many this quickly off of one storm, is that any kind of eye-opening type of number? It's expected?
It's definitely eye-opening. For the lack of better words, that and just the amount of rain. This storm has literally surpassed a lot of people's expectations. I think it's a rarity storm. The fact that it intensified so quickly in the Gulf of Mexico, and just the fact that it got to winds of over 180 miles per hour. I mean, that's just, this storm has just been beyond means.
Going back to Helene had a lot of tornado warnings too, especially north of us. So that was another. I mean, that storm was ginormous, but it was rapid fire.
It was you guys were tag teaming for hours over here. I mean, it was impressive to watch you guys work, but I am just glad we are out of that.
So am I.
So I'm sure everyone at home is as well.
Let me take you guys back outside. You guys have been doing a great job, by the way, showing videos.
Thanks, Jesse and Michelle.
Do appreciate that. Live look in. It's a rarity to see the I-4 corridor like that with one car on there. I don't care what time of the day. There's usually a lot more traffic than that. So it's good to see a lot of our Central Florida population heeding the warning and making sure that they're safe, hunkering down, and we'll get through this. We've done this before. We're going to do it again in the future. There's no doubt about it, but we'll take them one at a time, right? Let's take a look down at Hurricane Milton, the 9 o'clock advisory here. Wind was 115 coming down, of course, if you missed it, making landfall 5 miles towards the west of Sarasota near what we call Siesta Key, moving off now to the east-northeast at 15 miles an hour. And remember, as that pressure comes up, the winds come down. So we're going to watch the track, we're going to watch the storm, and on the back side of it, not only is flooding a big concern, but the storm surge warning remains in play. There's going to be major beach erosion. Nearshore roads are going to be washed out. There's going to be a lot of problems. Then the seas are going to be incredibly rough as we get you into the day tomorrow. Things will begin to improve as we head into the upcoming weekend. But there's the eye of the storm making landfall a short time ago. The center of circulation has filled in, but on the periphery on the northern side of it, right through this little corridor here, there is going to be somebody picking up a good 10 to 15 inches of rain. The winds on the backside of the storm coming down. The strongest winds are right about in here, and I'll recenter those velocity winds for you here in a second. 83, 82. The highest I saw in the Tampa Bay area is around 90. But notice the winds here in Central Florida. Leesburg just gusted to 71. That is now the highest wind of the evening. And then up towards the north and the east, we have some wind picking up towards Flagler County, northern Volusia County. Flood warnings here from Tampa all the way towards the eastern side of the peninsula. And last but not least, as we head farther to the north now up towards Palm Coast, almost everybody is under a flood warning thus far. Daytona Beach, Sanford, Leesburg, and on into Orlando Executive there. Those wind peak gusts continue to climb, and that's something we're going to have to watch, as Cam alluded to, for any concerns with trees coming down on power lines.
Yeah, that's because the ground is so saturated already, Tony. Take a look at all the storm reports we've already gotten for today, and they range anywhere from flooding to wind to even reports of tornadoes. In fact, we saw from Tony Atkins and Live Shot earlier in this evening reports of a possible or actually likely tornado in Cocoa Beach that actually caused damage near a Wells Fargo building near A1A there and Banana River Boulevard there in Cocoa Beach. So we've gotten numerous reports of wind and also lots of reports of flooding as well, and we're not even done. We're basically not even halfway there yet. So the flood threat is still very high, actually extreme here. All of Central Florida in the purple category, which is the highest level for flood threat. And this will be the case through the overnight hours. And the reason why, we could pick up an additional 5 to 8 inches of rainfall in this brown swath that you see here, but there are several spots that are in the red. It wouldn't be out of the question to pick up an additional 8 to possibly even a foot of rain. I think it's going to be localized, though, on top of everything that we've already seen. We've seen such amazing rainfall rates, between anywhere from 3 to 7 inches of rain in 1 hour, and we're going to continue to see these heavy rain bands through the overnight hours. So here's a look around 11 o'clock to midnight. Look at the heavy reds indicating, again, rain rates likely well over 3 to 4 inches an hour. That will continue through the overnight hours, and this on top of the strong winds that we're expecting overnight as well. So it's going to be a pretty loud night ahead. Then as we go into Thursday morning, a wide swath of rain all across Central Florida. Finally, that center circulation moves its way offshore, but we're not done with the rain yet. On the backside of the system, unfortunately for our friends and neighbors along the coast, you're still going to be dealing with bands of heavy rain all the way until about tomorrow afternoon, because as Milton makes its way offshore, on the backside of it, we're still going to see quite a bit of moisture. So our friends and neighbors along the coast in Flagler County, Volusia County, and Brevard County, you're not going to be done with the rain until late day tomorrow. So all of that is why we could pick up, again, some areas an additional 8 to 12 inches of rain, especially along the coast. So our timeline for Milton: flooding downpours tonight and hurricane force winds starting to build tomorrow morning. Squally rain bands, especially along the coast, and strong winds as well. By tomorrow afternoon, Milton will move into the Atlantic, but for folks along our coastal communities, again, in Brevard, Volusia, and Flagler counties, you're still going to be dealing with some coastal rain. Coming up next time when I see you, I'll talk more about the wind impacts that we're going to continue to see in the overnight hours. Coming up next. Back to you guys.
All right, Cam, thank you so much. And just taking a look at our radar, you can see it is raining nearly all across our area right now. And one of those places is Osceola County. And funny enough, that's where people from the coast actually came to take shelter from the storm.
You know, it's funny. I was thinking about that driving in before, you know, everybody said hunker down from Volusia County, passing a lot of the hotels along I-4 and saying, you know, the parking lots were packed. Yeah. People along there. We've got WESH 2's Gail Pascal Brown at a hotel in Osceola County now. Gail, you've been there with these folks for a couple hours in your last couple of hits. We know that you've talked with them. Tell us, what's the vibe right now and what's it looking like there?
Well, I can tell you we are dealing with some more of that blowing rain that I mentioned a couple of hours ago. The winds have picked up a bit, but that's expected right here in Osceola County because we're not done yet. We're going to get more rain without a doubt. So don't think just because it took the West Coast hit that it's over, because it's not. We are at the Quality Inn and Suites by Choice Hotels here in Osceola County, and we are safe. And we want to thank so much to everybody who text and call, checking on us, trying to make sure we're okay. We are safe, and we have met a bunch of families who basically have sought refuge at this hotel from Hurricane Milton. Now, inside the Quality Inn and Suites here in Kissimmee, there are so many families fleeing Hurricane Milton. They're from East Coast as well as the West Coast of Florida. That includes Carrie Ryan from Rotunda West, and that's in Charlotte County on the West Coast between Fort Myers and Tampa. She says she had to leave. They were evacuated, and her fear were the torrential rains that Milton could bring.
It's the water. That's why we left. We made it through Ian. The house made it pretty well. We only lost a few things. But when we saw the surges, and we also live on a channel that is full, it's been raining for weeks, so it's already saturated. And so we're worried about the water coming in the house.
Now, she hopes everyone who did stay back is going to be okay and admits that it was really hard to leave her home. Her dogs are just happy to be safe and comfortable. And that's what we want for everyone, to be safe and comfortable. Want to remind you that a curfew went into effect, a mandatory curfew right here in Osceola County. It started at 8 o'clock. It goes until 10 o'clock in the morning. And that, of course, is to help discourage those drivers from being on the roads. Again, no looky-loos, no sightseers. Just stay off the roads, please, because there's no telling what you could step into, onto, or be about of. So please be careful and be safe. We want to make sure that we make it through yet another hurricane. I'm Gail Pascal Brown reporting live in Osceola County. Now back to you.
Gail, that was actually going to be my next question to you. The curfew that's in effect, have you seen people walking around as you've been doing your job here throughout the night in Osceola County?
No, not from our vantage point, because you know something, year after year, I know people have gotten used to this. It's not their first rodeo when it comes down to these hurricanes. Now, sometimes you'll find a couple of hard heads, but not from our vantage point where we've been here. They obviously are taking this in stride because, you know, I think this storm really scared a lot of people. And they are a little bit more cautious maybe than in prior storms. So they're just trying to be very careful about this. And then as our meteorologists continue to report, we're going to hear another system and that coming. So no, they're taking heed to that curfew, and that's a good thing too.
It is a good thing, Gail. I agree. I think this storm just felt different to a lot of people. And Gail, I love your calming voice during a hurricane, I have to say. Thank you so much for filing that report. Gail has obviously been covering hurricanes in our area for decades, I think people rely on her during times like
I actually
this.
just got a text when Gail was first on the air saying GPB the OG. We know Gail knows what she's doing. She's been here for a while, and she knows how to bring that information calmly and safely to viewers. So Gail, thank you one more time. You're looking at a video out of Palm Beach County, widespread damage there. This is out of Wellington from earlier today. Take a look at that. It's a possible tornado. You can see pretty clearly there the gray clouds up top funneling down into that. So we're working to confirm that. Shane Wright from our sister station WPBF joining us live. He's there. Shane, tell us a bit about what you're seeing and what it's like down there.
Yeah, it was definitely a wild evening here across the Palm Beaches and Treasure Coast. Multiple tornadoes touching down, waiting on confirmation exactly how many, but one for sure that we feel like did touch down, according to our meteorologists here in the Wellington community. We're in western Palm Beach County. This street that I'm on was totally just damaged by a hurricane, or I would say tornado damage, including this home right here. This car just thrown up against this home like it was a toy. This is just one of many homes on this street that has been damaged from this potential tornado that came across this area here in Wellington. Right next door here, look at this home, a 3-car garage. Every garage door in this home had been pushed in by the heavy winds that came through. There are trees all about this garage and all about the driveway here. There is a SUV inside this garage that is damaged. If you look up to the second floor of this home, also the windows in this home have been blown out. This is a part of exactly what's on the street. Multiple homes. I would say about 7 or 8 homes that we saw driving in here damaged, not to this extent, but definitely showing some damage from that potential tornado that came through. I did speak to one young man, a teenager who lives on the street with his dad. He said they saw that hurricane, or saw the tornado rather, come through their area, and he took shelter inside the home with his dad, and after they felt it was safe to come through, they came outside and helping some of the neighbors here push some of the tree branches that you can see here up against the curb, just so that the first responders can make it in and make it through this area to make sure everybody was okay, kind of help neighbors helping neighbors in this neighborhood. And they said all these branches, all these trees inside of the road, on the road, blocking the path for first responders to come in. So they did their job of cutting some of these tree branches and pushing them against the curb here. What you didn't see was a X on one of these homes. That is to tell first responders, emergency officials, that everyone made it out of this home safely. So we're not hearing of any injuries, particularly on this street, but that remains to be seen. There are multiple orange X's on this road where emergency officials had gone by, checked just to make sure that everyone had made it out safely. But this is exactly what these officials were going through and experiencing today in Palm Beach County.
Hey, Shane, if we can keep you for one extra moment, what I'm noticing from your live shot here is you have a lot of wind damage. Have you guys been seeing a lot of rain in your area? I don't see many flooded streets around you. Have you been seeing anything like that as you've been reporting throughout the evening?
Yeah, not much rain, definitely wind. A lot of these tornadoes just popped up on the radar. Like I said, multiple tornadoes through the evening. Some of the areas that does normally see flooding, definitely we saw leading up to this, there was another system that came through before Milton that dumped some rain in there. So there was some ponding, some flooding in areas that usually does see flooding. But as far as today is concerned, not much flooding across this area, but a lot of wind and a lot of people trying to put together the pieces after the potential tornado came through not only this community, but multiple communities across the Palm Beaches and up through the Treasure Coast, St. Lucie County, Martin County, and Indian River County, as well as Okeechobee County as well.
All right, Shane Wright live for us tonight. Shane, thank you very much. Down there in Wellington. Shane, thanks again. We want to give you a look at this camera. This is US 1 at State Road 44. You can see there the wind shaking the camera a little bit. The raindrops obviously on there. Obviously, there's still power near that intersection. One thing we love to see, nobody at that intersection. Nobody on the road. Nobody walking, no cars there. It's exactly what we want to see there. Again, US 1 State Road 44. You can see definitely feeling the rain and the wind there.
We also have another camera that we'd like to show you. This is a bridge camera, and it was in Polk County, shaking as Milton was nearing landfall. If we can get that up, maybe we don't have that for you. Sorry, guys, we're just trying to roll these out to you as they come into us here in the newsroom, so we're just trying to get you as many visuals as possible. Okay, I think we are going to go out live to WESH 2's Greg Fox. Greg, do you have some numbers for us on power outages?
Yeah, right now we've had reports, especially in the Sweetwater neighborhood, of power outages, and they had some earlier that Duke Energy responded to, got power back on. Now some people have it off again, but this is the place to be, Bentley Elementary School here in Sanford, when it comes to power concerns, because they've got a complete campus generator. So take a look. You got the lights on inside the lobby. And of course, inside the area where people are sleeping and spending the nights with their families, they will have lights, they will have air conditioner, the works. Now take a look from earlier. Not so many folks in the storm's path will have that. Seminole County, with a population of roughly 480,000 people, Florida Power and Light has about 131,000 of those people, and throughout the state has 17,000 power company crews on standby to restore power. Duke Energy has 16,000 line workers, tree clearing crews, technical support, and more ready to roll from the villages and from Davenport, where their staging areas are with all those trucks. They have a big chunk of their customer base right here in the path of Milton.
We know that it's going to impact our most densely populated areas. Obviously, the Central Florida area is one of those. We serve over 950,000 customers just in the Central Florida territory. So we are anticipating widespread power outages, extended power outages, and we're asking our customers to prepare now.
Shelter. And so again, once again, come on out live. We're at Bentley Elementary. We've got the ambulance out front. This is one of the special needs shelters that is here. And I don't know if you can see it, but beyond that, underneath that street light there, you can really see the wind just blowing the tops of the palm trees that are outside here of this school campus. Also, you should know for all 8 of these shelters in Seminole County, they are going to have at least 4 officers and or deputies round the clock on every single shift. So there will be complete security here. We'll send it back to you now.
All right, Greg, thank you so much. We do want to get you back to that video that I was telling you about before. This is video from Polk County. Now, it is hard to make out, but I'm going to tell you what it is. So it's dark, I know, but there are some lights there. That is a bridge camera, and it is shaking. This is as Milton was nearing landfall, and there's obviously heavy rain. There is a lot of wind. That's why the camera is shaking so much. Again, this is Polk County. This is I-75, and this is a bridge in that area.
We also have a video out of Fort Myers Beach down in southwest Florida. This is a live look. You can see the wind and the rain. And this is at Margaritaville in Fort Myers Beach. Now, one thing that's interesting, if you're familiar with Fort Myers Beach, the Margaritaville Resort is pretty new. It just opened this year. You know, it's been almost a decade in the making. Michelle, I was a reporter in Fort Myers at our now sister station. 2015, 2016 era. And I remember reporting on the plans for this resort coming up. So it's finally built. All that to say, it's pretty much a brand new resort, brand new building. And you're seeing that rain and obviously on a barrier island there. So if you're familiar with Fort Myers Beach, this is pretty much at the end of San Carlos Boulevard, when San Carlos Boulevard dumps you onto the island over the Matanzas Pass, and you get to see it all right there. But as you see, taking a look again, live look at the conditions there, all that white stuff blurring around, that's water. That's the rain coming in. You can see the palm trees shaking back and forth, and quite the view there coming in pretty much from the Gulf.
And Jesse, one thing that you said stood out to me there. It was built recently. Guys, let's talk a little bit about structures in our area. I mean, Tony, things really changed around here at a certain point about building codes and what they could sustain. Can you talk? I know you know a lot about that.
Andrew was the big one.
Yeah.
When that came through, Homestead was pretty much annihilated. So what it did, it really exposed the builders that weren't doing the job the right way. So the codes changed then, and you know, if you compare Florida's building codes versus any Gulf Coast state, we have the best. We really do. And it just goes to show you Mother Nature sometimes doesn't care if it's the best. But yeah, we do. We really have one of the best building codes now in the South.
Oh, and that's why we give certain warnings if you live in a home built before this, or if you live in a mobile home park that you need to evacuate. That's why we give those warnings. Cam, we are still dealing with hours and hours of impacts ahead of us here. Are you going to take us county by county now?
I'm going to show you county by county in terms of how much rainfall we can actually pick. And also, we're going to talk about the rivers. We haven't really talked too much about the streams and rivers, because think about all this rain that has fallen has to go somewhere, right?
Yep.
And we all know the St. Johns River, what happened after Ian, it flooded. And this is going to be a slow process for getting it to drain. We have just updated the river forecast, and unfortunately, it looks like we are going to see likely some flooding along the St. Johns River.
Yeah. Speaking of what, while she was doing that, I said, let me handle the surge. We got an update on that. Obviously, once the storm goes east of us, we're worried about our coast in Brevard County, worried about our coast in Volusia and in Brevard counties, because there's going to be issues there. And I'm telling you, if we have a reporter out there tomorrow morning or in the afternoon, that is going to be one angry surf over that way. You know, some of the waves were offshore seas were close to 20 feet with nearshore breaking waves, very, very dangerously high, extremely rough.
Even after the storm passes, you should steer clear of the beaches.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, 100%. You know, it takes 24 to 48 hours for things to really simmer on down. In some instances, even a little bit longer. And then here's the other thing, and Cam knows this very well. It etches out all of these little nooks in the sandbars. That creates, other issues, rip currents, rip tides, and you got to be careful with that.
Yeah, Tony, you just mentioned, 24 to 48 hours, was it? I just talked to Jonathan Lord of Flagler County Emergency Management yesterday. He was telling us they're worried about the St. John's and the flooding, as he mentioned, flows from south to north, where they have seen the St. John's, Crescent Lake in that area as well, flood out, overflow over the barriers, and they have to do evacuation orders after the storm comes through.
I believe we saw that after Ian. We did saw that after Ian. And also one thing I want to mention about the coast is we could see quite a bit of coastal erosion. I know that's that's been a project that's been going on in Flagler County trying to alleviate that, but then this comes along and unfortunately kind of undoes a lot of some of the projects that have been going there. So a lot to unfold.
Let's get into a little bit of weather here, guys, and I want to take you back outside. We've been peppering in these HD cameras here. This is World Drive, the I-Drive corridor, the hotel district, and it's kind of hard to see anything out there right now because of that very heavy tropical soaking rains that are now ongoing here in Central Florida. The other thing that we've just seen a spike in is the number of power outages. Blue being replaced by yellow. The number is growing. 26,000 in Marion County, 16,000 now in Lake County. Orange County growing to 16,000. Polk County is growing now over 24,000 folks without power. These numbers are going to continue to rise overnight tonight. And you can see by the time we get to Thursday, 2 o'clock in the morning here, this will be down to a Category 1 storm, weakening but still generating some wind, and you are going to hear it buffering your homes tonight across that stretch and even up to the north. Leesburg just had a wind gust there at the airport, 71 miles an hour. But of more concern is the very heavy rain that is lining up now just to the north of the center of that circulation. And you can see that the tornado watch was dropped, so that is some good news. But now it's more of a concern. The severe risk well offshore. Look at all those lightning strikes, those supercells offshore. There's our flood advisories. Winds here continue to build up towards the north and the east into our area. Look at these winds now over towards Polk County, 65, 71 now in Winter Haven, up towards the metro areas, 55 at OIA, 43, 53 now over towards Orlando's Executive right here along the eastern side of the peninsula, 25, 35, 45 miles an hour, and then up towards Apopka in and around Leesburg, still gusting to 71 miles an hour as that band of moderate to heavy rain continues to work on in. Flash flooding, we have a whole bunch of that. From Tampa Bay to Orlando to Daytona Beach. This is in effect now until 11:45 and will likely be extended deeper into the overnight as that heavy rain continues to move along here in Central Florida. So the bottom line for me is we're going to watch that, and the wave heights continue to grow now across the eastern Gulf of Mexico. You can see that wave action, the heights they're running close to 30 feet just to the west of Fort Myers. Keep in mind now, storm surge warnings do remain in effect along the eastern side of the Florida Peninsula. With more on the rain and how it's impacting our rivers, let's check in with Cam.
That's right, Tony. So before I get to that, I just got the 10 o'clock update that came down. So now winds of 110 miles per hour. Right now, center circulation is about 20 miles northeast of Sarasota. But what stands out to me before I go on camera here is that there is a flash flood emergency in effect for the Tampa Bay area as Milton continues to move inland. For major areas like Tampa Bay, including St. Petersburg and Clearwater, there were reports of wind gusts over 102 miles per hour as the system made landfall. So just wanted to give you guys an update on that with the 10 o'clock advisory that just came down. Now let's take a look at what our impacts are here in Central Florida. Before I show you how much additional rainfall we could possibly see from Milton, let's look at how much we've already received. Some areas, especially in Sumter County, 7 inches of rainfall, a half a foot of rainfall in portions of Seminole County and out towards eastern Orange and Osceola County. You're thinking, okay, this is a lot of rainfall already. How much more could we possibly see? Upwards of a half a foot to possibly another foot of rainfall. So that is why you can see all of Central Florida under the extreme threat for flooding tonight into the overnight hours. And I mentioned earlier, the Tampa Bay area is already under a flash flood emergency. Do I think we could get to that point? We have to monitor it, but we do have those flash flood warnings in effect right now for all of Central Florida, basically. So how much additional rainfall can we get from now till about early Friday morning? I say Friday morning because our coastal communities will still see the rain showers linger on a bit longer. So here's a look at this wide swath of rain here in the brown. Areas in the brown could pick up an additional 5 to 8 inches of rainfall, so easily half a foot. But notice some pockets, though, in the red indicating an additional 8 to 12 inches of rain. I think it's going to be localized, but it's not out of the question because we are seeing rain rates of well over 5 inches an hour at times. So some areas could walk away with an additional half a foot to a foot of rainfall. So I'll go through the river levels in a minute, but it looks like we have to toss it back to the anchors. Back to you guys.
You're watching continuing coverage of Milton from WESH 2.
Now at 10, Hurricane Milton slams into Florida, bringing with it a barrage of lightning strikes seen in this satellite image.
Hurricane hunters are working around the clock, flying into this massive storm to give us the latest data as people on the ground dodge falling trees, deal with dangerous storm surge, and are left needing to pick up the pieces.
There is just house after house after house with damage.
We've got team coverage tonight to keep you safe during the storm.
All right, and of course, we continue to follow some of the latest information that we are getting from the hurricane and some of the damage reports that we are getting in. Several tornado warnings, as you all know, were issued late this afternoon.
Yeah, all across Central Florida, we've had that going on all day. Let's get you all to Brevard County. WESH 2's Tony Atkins joins us live right now. You've been up and down Brevard County. Where exactly are you now, and how are the conditions there?
Well, right now I'm in Cocoa, and earlier for the past few hours we've been showing you those the storm damage from those strong winds from just earlier tonight. But I do have an entire story to tell, just kind of figuring out where some things ended up after it blew off of some other buildings. But let me explain that in a second. So I am here at this house here in Cocoa, and you might see a little debris in the yard, and that's because this is an area that has had some significant damage to several homes here. Now, the person who owns this home, they were taking care of a neighbor, or a family member, I should say, who had some special medical needs, and you can see the damage to that person's car. So once that those strong winds came through, you can see the damage to this car and the damage in their yard. But what really caused most of this is right here. This is actually part of the roof of the Wells Fargo that we showed you a few hours ago, and we are not very close to that bank. So this is just a testament to how strong these winds were. You could just see just the wood and all of the elements of the roof of that, and we do have some paramedics removing someone from that house. So
I was just driving, and then oncoming car was flashing his lights, and so I parked because I thought like my car was like messed up or something. Yeah. And then I just see like this big cloud, like tornado, and it just like ripped through sports clips and like the store next to it, and I was like freaking out. So I just had my dad pick me up.
It looks like Tony's shot is going in and out. Obviously, it's still dealing with some issues out there as far as the signal goes. Here's a live look right now towards Sarasota, where we just had a landfall from Milton just about an hour and a half ago or so. I want to read you just some information from the National Hurricane Center. It came ashore as a Category 3, making landfall officially in Siesta Key. They're still talking about life-threatening storm surge in this range. At some points, they've had maximum sustained winds at 78 miles an hour, gust over 100 miles an hour, and you can tell from these live pictures, obviously no one's on the roads. That's a great thing, but they are still dealing with a tremendous amount of surge. We just heard from meteorologist Cam Tran a moment ago. They're dealing with the storm surge, but now they're dealing with flash flooding that's happening in that area.
Yeah, we actually want to take you back out to Brevard County. Tony Atkins, we have his shot back up. Tony?
Again, I was just trying to explain just the significant damage. So there was someone here, a homeowner. You saw the damage to his house. He was actually hosting a relative, his sister-in-law, who had special medical needs, to make sure she was safe. And then once the storm hit, that you saw that damage to her van, which is right over. that the part of the damage was from some of the debris that blew from a Wells Fargo that may be a mile away. And if you take a look in between these two houses, so the homeowner and then a neighbor's house, you can see significant damage there to their roof. So it really is just a cataclysm just of destruction here. Brian here. Hey, Brian, I'll bring you over. Brian, this is kind of like a band of destruction that we've seen, but it's important to get that debris up, right?
Yeah, the debris is all over the street, and we asked the city when they could come out, and they said they wouldn't be here till Monday. So I went out and grabbed one of my trailers and called a handful of guys and got them all together. And we picked up all the bigger, not the super big stuff, but like the medium stuff that can projectile pretty easily and things like that. And tomorrow we'll be back to sweep up the street for all the concrete and all that.
Now, it wasn't just you, it was a few neighbors that kind of got together to help out this family and a few families here. How important is it for you guys to stick together? Because you got to, at some point, hunker down should the storm come, strengthen up again in this area.
Oh, it will. And tomorrow, I mean, this is, most of these people on the street, my family's lived here since 1976. So most of these families some of them we've known for, 30, 40 years. So, I mean, we all help each other out. This is a good street and a good community.
Frank, thank you so much for chatting. I really appreciate it. Continue helping. I'm going to try to keep the shot up if we could kind of show. We showed you some of the damage on this street. This is kind of the most significant damage you will see. But, Jake, if you want to turn around toward me, I want to show some of the other damage here. Well, actually, I really can't because it's so dark. But if you look at the light there, you can see roofs, just some of the shingles that have fallen onto the street, and yeah, that's debris in the road. And if you look right there, that
All right, we'll check back in with Tony a little bit later on. But of course, this storm making landfall on the West Coast, and Tampa and that entire region is getting ravaged right now.
They are. Fortunately, it was not a direct hit for them. Let's go ahead and get you out live there. WESH 2's Justin Schecker is back, and it looks like things have calmed down since the last time we saw you, Justin.
Well, we've actually moved under this awning because it really has not calmed down at this hour. The wind gusts are whipping through this alley. Our photographer, Pete, pan over, you can look out and see the rain just blowing sideways by those light poles off in the distance. We know this major storm made landfall about 60 miles south of us in the Sarasota area by Siesta Key. While Tampa did not get that direct hit, Tampa is taking a beating tonight from this hurricane. I was here 2 years ago for Hurricane Ian, and these conditions are much worse, much stronger hurricane force winds, and the rain has really been relentless since the 6 o'clock hour. I heard Cam mention a short time ago we are in this flash flooding emergency warning, but as you can see, we are still dealing with the strong wind. And the last half hour or so, we saw a couple of branches fly by. We know a major concern across the Tampa Bay region here in Hillsborough County over by the Gulf and Pinellas was all that storm debris from Helene potentially turning into projectiles. No officials did what they could to have cleanup crews pick that stuff up. But right now, with these powerful wind gusts blowing all over the Bay Area here, there are likely some projectiles being just blown around into buildings that already were damaged from Helene 2 weeks ago. Again, Tampa has dodged a direct hit, thankfully, but this is relentless hurricane force winds at this hour. This is not a time to be on the roads, and now the National Weather Service is warning about flash flooding. Reporting live in Tampa, I'm Justin Schecker, WESH 2 News.
All right, Justin, thank you. As the camera started moving, you could tell the wind was picking up. It just, he was underneath that awning, so
they still
smart
got
thinking.
Several hours to go in a dangerous situation out there for so many folks.
Be safe.
We need to give you a look at the power outages that we're also experiencing across the state of Florida. And if you look at it from just this visual, if you think about where they are geographically, you can see it's going from west to east and how it continues to get worse. I want to take you through the numbers right now. Marion County has more than 27,000, approaching 28,000 people in the dark. Lake County, 16,000. 16,000. Orange County, almost 17,000, a little bit more than Lake. Volusia County, a little over 10,000. 9,100 in Seminole County. Brevard County, 2,000. Osceola and Flagler aren't reporting any outages, but just looking at some of the websites, we are starting to see more outages pop up in those locations as well. Of course, that's one of the biggest issues that we could be dealing with going into this, and a lot of people now using generators to make sure they can power their homes.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to those numbers, those are not just people, those are actual customers. So one customer could be a household of, several people. All right, so let's talk about the generator safety issues, because that's something that people need to keep in mind. Power outages, obviously a concern with Milton. But if you do lose power, make sure you know how to safely set up your generator. It can take just 5 minutes for your generator to produce enough carbon monoxide. The odorless and colorless gas can kill you. Now, to be safe, make sure you set up your generator at least 20 feet away from your home. That's very important. And make sure that the exhaust is pointed away from your property. Now, if you have a gas generator, make sure you turn it off and let it fully cool down before fueling back up. And never, ever run a generator inside your garage or inside your home.
Let's talk now to our team of meteorologists. Guys, of course, this storm made landfall already. People may be looking at some of the models and maybe having a quiet moment outside their house. We are far from over.
We are far from over, and there really aren't too many quiet areas, though, to be honest with you, out there right now. The rain, we've got a flood emergency in the Tampa Bay area going on right now, and we could have an emergency here because of an additional at least 6 to 8 inches of rain in a few spots tonight.
That's right. We're already under a flash flood warning, meaning flooding is happening or is imminent. Flash flood emergency gets beyond that, and right now some areas have already picked up 6 to 7 inches of rainfall. I think another half a foot to even some areas well over half a foot could really exacerbate the situation tonight, unfortunately.
Cam and I were just looking at a report from the Hurricane Center, over 16 inches of rain in St. Petersburg.
In St. Petersburg.
Wow.
Yeah.
The winds over 100 miles per hour there.
Yep.
How are our winds locally right now?
They're coming up.
They're coming up.
We're in the 60s and 70s now. In fact, I've got a graphic for you on that here in a second. Let's begin, though, guys, with that flash flood advisories and emergency. There it is down towards the Tampa Bay area. Elsewhere, we've got our own issues here, flash flood warnings here in many areas across central Florida. But there's the Tampa Bay area. We'll continue to monitor that. And then the impact timeline for the surge remains the same. As we get on the backside of it, that surge is going to be with us through Thursday morning. And then as the storm pulls away by the afternoon and we have the angry ocean, we'll still have to watch that. But I think the worst time frame is going to be sometime between now and about noon, maybe there on Thursday. Wind is picking on up. We talked about that. But by the afternoon, we'll be out of that core of the strongest winds. Severe risk is over, and the flooding risk persists now until the storm departs. Look at this satellite and that radar. Very, very heavy rain from Tampa to Orlando and stretching up towards Volusia on into Flagler counties here. Multiple flood warnings right now. Almost 99% of our area, except for southern Osceola and Brevard County, is under a flood advisory. Look at these winds now. Over towards Bartow, over towards the north side of Tampa, Ruskin there, south side of 75, 85, 93 mile-an-hour winds on that velocity product. And when we take a look at the recent gusts, that core of that strongest wind is rotating now towards Polk County. While that's going on, the rain intensities, the intensity of the rain, the hourly rainfall rates continue to increase as this storm is moving up now towards the east-northeast. Winds here up in Marion County, about 35 to 45 over towards the coast. Daytona Beach earlier, you were close to about 65 miles an hour. You're back down to about 56 now. Seminole County, you're looking at 35, 45. You did have a gust there to 52 a short time ago. And when we take a look at the flood warnings here, this remains in effect now until 2:45. They just pushed that back. The flood warnings here from Titusville to DeLand, this is until 11:45. That will likely be extended. And last but not least, Cam, you can see that flood warning here that includes Daytona Beach, Ocala, New Smyrna, and up towards Palm Coast.
Yeah, Tony, our flood threat is on the very high side. In fact, it's on the extreme category, which is the highest threat in the flooding category as possible. And we're already seeing that flooding. Our live reporters doing a great job, especially Tony Atkins showed some of the flooding earlier in Brevard County. And unfortunately, that threat is going to last through the overnight hours here as we are expecting additional rainfall, and some areas could pick up, as crazy as this sounds, an additional foot of rain. So here's a look at our futurecast rainfall. This swath between, I would say, Palm Coast all the way down into southern portions of Sumter and Lake counties are areas that could easily pick up an additional 5 to 8 inches of rainfall. We're seeing just heavy rain rates out this evening. But notice some localized areas, especially in Volusia County, could get upwards of an additional 8 to 12 inches. Why so much more? I'll show you why in a second, but be ready. We're expecting more rainfall. Here's a look at futurecast. So as we go into around midnight, the center of circulation is literally going to move right over us into early Thursday morning around 5 a.m. That center of circulation will be right along the I-95 corridor by then, and then eventually it's going to move offshore. So you can see by noontime on Thursday tomorrow, we're going to see the system and the Atlantic already, but watch what happens. On the back side of this storm, we'll still see some rain showers for our coastal locations, and that is why some areas, including Volusia County and northern Brevard County, we're expecting even higher rain amounts there. So again, some areas could easily pick up an additional half a foot to possibly another 10 inches of rain. So all of that rain has to go somewhere, right? So here's a look at the river level forecast, for the St. Johns River at Lake Harney. Right now it's at 6.5 feet. It's expected to crest up to 9.8 though on Monday, and at 9.8 we're talking about water entering the first story homes there for folks along the St. Johns River there in Lake Harney. For the St. Johns River at DeLand, right now the river level is at 3.5. It's expected to crest on Monday at 5.2, and at 5.2 we're talking about water in buildings around some of the areas already. So it's getting there. We're going to be past action stage and getting into flooding stage by the time this is all said and done. Keep in mind, it takes a while for the river's levels to actually rise, and that's why there's a bit of a gap between when the rain arrives and when the actual river actually crests. Here's a look at your Central Florida's certified most accurate forecast. We're in the thick of it now and will continue to be so through early tomorrow morning. For coastal communities, expect those impacts a bit later. And then finally, we dry on out and get some sunshine for this upcoming weekend.
All right, Cam, thank you. We're going to continue our coverage going county to county, and right now we want to head out to Orange County.
And heading 429 northbound towards Apopka, Michelle Meredith is riding safely in the passenger seat. Michelle, walk us through what you're seeing. Obviously, some of the worst weather is heading your way.
Well, I want to show you our setup here. This is one of our, what we call affectionately, weather wagons. And there are 3 cameras. There's one on me, and I'm going to move over here. There's one that is the front camera, which is going through the windshield. It's a clear shot. And then we have a roof camera, which gives you a wider shot, and you can see what we're dealing with. We've got these sheets of rain, and it's so typical hurricane weather. Sometimes a little bit of rain, and then it just starts wailing in sheets. And Gary, our photographer, sometimes it's tugging at our car, and he's got the old stiff arm on the wheel there. We have seen very few cars on the road, cars that we have seen. I think they regretted it. Some were parked under the overpass. One had his hazard lights on. When we drive by hotels, we see the parking lot is completely full. And you know how hurricanes are confusing to all of us? Well, it confused one crane who ended up right in the middle of the 429, and he was gray and we couldn't really see him, and Gary dodged and the crane moved and he just went on his merry way. And this is just the beginning of this bizarre ride that we call Hurricane Milton. Michelle Meredith reporting live for WESH 2 News.
No, that's a scary ordeal, and we are glad that you are okay. Here's another live look over at St. Pete Beach, which is just to the north of where this storm made landfall. They are still being battered by that heavy wind and surf that's been associated with this storm. As Cam and Tony just told us, they're also now dealing with a flood emergency.
Yeah, the 3 big concerns, obviously, with Milton, storm surge, wind, and flooding. And we're already starting to see and feel some of those effects now that it has made landfall near Siesta Key as a Cat 3, as we were expecting 120-mile-per-hour winds.
And of course, we have been looking at images throughout the entire state, and some of this same things are playing out in other locations. Now those strong winds are heading towards the Orlando metro area and our entire zone of Central Florida. Tony and Cameron over there tracking the timing down of when we could see some of the strongest winds, because a lot of people have been messaging me saying that, hey, it's getting really intense outside.
And you're like,
I'm like, no, there's more coming right behind it. I mean, this hit as a Category 3. At one point, it was a Category 5 out in the ocean. So it takes some time to wind all this down.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're tracking every little detail because, you know, the other big question we're getting is like, when is it going to be over? Well, we don't know quite yet, but we are working on it. Let's move on now. Milton has been, of course, a monster storm, quickly becoming a major hurricane and maintaining that status as it made landfall.
Meteorologist Marquise Mita gets on the ice and helps put the size of the storm in perspective.
The conservation of angular momentum, it's a phenomena as powerful as it is mysterious. Hurricanes like the one that we're tracking right now, oftentimes a Category 5 is going to have the strongest winds, but it might be the smallest in size. On their approach to land, what is going to happen is that they're going to weaken in strength, but grow and expand in size. So to understand this phenomena a little bit easier, let's use a concept as simple as figure skating. I have Sienna with me, and we're going to demonstrate how a Category 5 can grow in its size, but weaken in winds. Take a look at this. As she brings her arms in nice and tight, see how fast she's spinning? Rapid. But the second she brings her arms out, well, she's going to grow in size, but the spin rate is a little bit slower, and that's a phenomenon that we could see as Milton approaches land later tonight.
When a figure skater pulls their arms in close to their body, they spin faster, but when they extend their arms, they slow down. This happens because of the conservation of angular momentum, a fundamental law of physics that also governs the behavior of hurricanes. In a Category 5 hurricane, the wind field is compact, concentrated near the storm's eye, allowing for the storm to spin rapidly. But when that Cat 5 storm weakens to, let's say, a Cat 3, it's like the hurricane is extending its arms. The wind field expands outwards, and although the winds are slower, the storm covers a much larger area. What we see is that when a hurricane's winds slow down, its energy is redistributed over a larger area, which is why weaker storms can still bring widespread impacts. Even with lower wind speeds, the expanded size means more communities can feel the effects. The redistribution of this energy can make a weakened hurricane even more dangerous, as the storm surge, flooding, and wind damage can stretch over hundreds of miles, which is a factor we're considering, as the effects of Milton will be felt all across the state of Florida starting tonight.
Love that. You know, anytime we have an opportunity to do something visual, it's like, aha, you have those aha moments.
Puts it in perspective.
Yeah,
and it shows,
absolutely.
it's again, when she got bigger, wider, like this storm is done, start to slow down. Now, obviously, one of the major areas that we are seeing a lot of flooding is down in Bradenton, where they were expecting that huge amount of storm surge, and they took almost the eye of the storm.
Yeah, the mayor of Bradenton is worried people might lose their lives with all the water that is rushing in. Here's what they had to say earlier.
This is bad. And the storm surge, you know, you run from, or you hunker down from wind, run from water. This water, if it goes up to 12 to 15 feet, like they're saying, a lot of people will die. And that's the sad part.
And in Sarasota, this is some of that storm surge also in action. This is a location right there, transformers blowing as the wind continues to batter down on them. The waves obviously rushing through the streets. Some projections in the beginning were up to 15 feet of storm surge, depending on if it hit in the bay. But 8 to 12 was reported up and down the West Coast in this region. Of course, they're going to have a long night ahead of them and a long day tomorrow before they can finally assess the damage.
And of course, power outages are going to go right along with that, with all of those transformers going down. Meanwhile, we're moving to downtown Fort Myers, where you can see cars driving through floodwaters. This is not exactly what you should be doing right now, but this is just kind of the situation here and in other parts of the state. Again, storm surge, wind, and flooding. Those are the three concerns, and you're taking a look at one of them right here. Hopefully people are being safe, and we don't see anyone walking around, so that's a good thing. But definitely don't do this if you don't have to.
Earlier this afternoon, big story for everyone across the entire Central and South Florida was the amount of tornado warnings that have been reported. Major tornadoes and multiple tornadoes are reported being touched down in Palm Beach County, and the damage there is extensive.
Yeah, Yanni Crocus is in Wellington right now, which is one of the hardest hit areas.
We're by Binks Forest Drive, not far from Southern and Wellington National Golf Club, where this area got hit hard from some tornado activity. I'm 6 feet tall. You can see just how massive this tree is that was uprooted in the side yard of this home. You can see some stray debris. This looks like a pole to maybe a side porch or something from a back patio. And just the sheer power of this tornado activity where this is completely uprooted. We've been driving down these streets for the last, call it 30 minutes, a whole lot of damage in this area. And now that it's dark and quiet and we're going to have the remnants and Milton activity upcoming, should be an interesting night here in Wellington. It seems like all the neighbors at this point are hunkering down inside. Not a whole lot of activity, but certainly a whole lot of damage that folks will wake up to tomorrow. That's the latest from Wellington.
Wow, incredible. You know, I actually have a sorority sister that lives there, and I was talking to her earlier, and they had 2 touchdowns near where they live, but fortunately they're okay, but just flipping cars like they're toys. And we saw a
Some
couple
of the videos
shots
online, the cars on the interstate getting tossed off the interstate.
Yeah, it's incredible to see. Hopefully those people are okay. All right, meanwhile, conditions continue to get bad here in Orange County.
Wind gusts and heavy rain is starting to impact this area even more so. WESH News' Kristen Lago is joining us live from Winter Park tonight. Kristen, we're going to check in with our weather team in a couple of minutes, but it looks like some of the worst winds are approaching Orange County.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. So when we stepped outside once again, I would say that in the last hour since I last talked to you guys, conditions, at least here in Winter Park, have seemingly improved. I mean, the rain is still coming down, but it's lightened a little bit. And I'm going to step aside so you can kind of see the wind here, or the lack of wind, I would say. It's just kind of breezy right now, whereas before, about an hour ago when I was first talking with you guys, we had a couple of these large wind gusts coming in, and you could really see it moving in the trees here, the branches kind of flying everywhere. But right now it's sort of calmed down. But as our weather team sort of told us just a bit ago, we are expecting these conditions to get worse. So this can be deceiving right now, but we're expecting the wind gusts, the rain to come in, even here locally in Winter Park. So everybody who is staying safe, watching us from home, don't be deceived by this. Don't go outside. Don't be on the roads. And we could still see the risk of some down power lines, so you might lose power and things like that. So make sure you're staying informed as to what to do. You can find all of that information, of course, on WESH.com. But right now, it's kind of eerily calm, so we'll keep you sort of up to date as these wind gusts kind of continue to come. As the rain continues to come, we'll continue to bring you a live look at what it looks like out here for us. Now, live in Winter Park, Kristen Lago, WESH 2 News.
Is closing down bridges right now on the Intercoastal. Starting at 9:30 tonight, they restricted access. The sheriff's office will keep the bridges closed until everything dies down. All the winds die down. Westbound lanes will be limited to essential travel. Remember, a curfew is still in effect right now. It started at 8 o'clock tonight and will go through tomorrow morning.
The big thing is they want to keep you safe, but also them safe, because they won't be able to rescue you in case something happens. Now, if you don't absolutely need to be on the roads right now, don't be. Several roads are blocked by trees in Sumter County. County Road 607, 622, 555, and Broad Street in Bushnell are all closed and blocked. County Road 740 in Webster is also closed at this hour. Just best to stay off the roads right now in general unless you absolutely need to. And of course, if there is an emergency, you should call 911. All right, we have been looking at a number of cameras throughout our area. Here's another one over towards St. Pete that we were just talking about a few minutes ago. This area saw a little bit of reprieve from not getting the worst of the storm surge, but they have been getting battered with those strong winds.
Yeah, you know, Tony just joined us right now. Can you just talk to us about the winds that you're seeing right now?
So they're picking on up, and one of the things that I did want to talk about, you know, the center is really filled in, and we think the center is just southwest there of Bartow in southwestern Polk County. And Stu, you had asked me, what time do you think that this is going to get close to Orlando? I think the center is going to stay south of Orlando. I think it's going to be closer to St. Cloud and Orlando, and that's likely to happen around 2 o'clock in the morning. So that's where the core of the strongest winds are likely to go. Although, a lot of people that are touching out to me are saying, hey, it's starting to pick up here now.
Yeah, we're going to say.
Yeah, but the worst of it's going to be just south and east of the I-4 corridor.
And what's the rain rate right now? I heard you all talking about it earlier.
Anywhere from 3 to 7 inches per hour. So that's just an insane amount of rain in that short period of time. That's why there's a flood emergency over in the Tampa Bay area. St. Petersburg, almost 17 inches of rain tonight alone.
So we've been looking at some of the power outage maps, and it's almost like, it's color-coded. As to where the storm started, it's in deep red, and where it hasn't gotten yet, it's in a lighter blue. Are we going to start seeing that change more and more across Central Florida?
Absolutely. It's literally changing minute by minute. One of the maps we show, the only two counties that are blue is Brevard and Osceola, but those are going to change as well. And along the coast, they're red. There's over 60, 70,000 people without power already in and around the Tampa Bay area. And that number is growing from what I understand.
Well, now the other question, and maybe you know, maybe you don't, but people want to know, when is this going to be over? Yeah. And I know it's just getting started. So
it's going to be off the coast, between 12 and 2. And then there's another whole set of problems. Then you've got the backside of the storm and the wind and the coastal beach erosion. Cam was doing a great job of talking about that and updating the river levels, the forecast from not only the rain, but you have to factor in the wind is pushing the river in the wrong direction. It's because our river flows from south to north, and that further exacerbates the flooding there along the coast. There is going to be significant flooding, major flooding along the St. John's.
It's 10:30, Tony. You want to take us outside and show us some of the stuff that you got?
I would love to do that. Let's do that right now. Kind of update a few things here for you. Cam's going to join me here in just a second. Live look in down over towards Lake Eola, downtown right now. It is certainly getting mistier and mistier out there with that heavy rain. Look at Orange County now, 22,000 people without power. Polk County, 42,000 people without power. There's the blue Stu is talking about over there in Osceola and Brevard County. This is going to change as we get deeper into night. There is your flood emergency now. It has actually been expanded now into Polk County. Cam and I were just talking about this minutes ago with Stu and Summer, saying that this could be expanded potentially into our viewing area. And I think there's a high chance that that's going to happen. So again, this is coming up right up the I-4 corridor, very close to Celebration, just to the west of Kissimmee. So we're going to need to watch that very, very carefully. Again, the surge comes tomorrow. The wind is here now. And then the flooding, that's already ongoing. And we'll continue to literally babysit that for you hour by hour. Here's a look now at what I believe is the latest trajectory of the center of our low pressure in Milton as it continues to go just over or just south of Winter Haven, very close to Kissimmee and St. Cloud. This would be about 2 o'clock in the morning, and then from there over towards Cocoa Beach, probably closer to about 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. It seems to be on a pretty good clip here right now. We'll get confirmation of this when we get the new cone here from the Hurricane Center at about 11 o'clock, anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes from now. But you can see there's that circulation center coming in to southwestern Polk County. On the northern side of that eye, on that circulation, look at how the rain is getting incredibly heavy, and this is lining up right over the I-4 corridor, a very heavily populated area. That includes the restaurant district there, the attractions, soon to be downtown Orlando, and then marching over towards the eastern side of Orlando. Think Waterford Lakes. Think up towards southern Seminole County. Could even be up towards as far north as Oviedo. We'll have to watch that again very, very carefully. Some of the recent live wind gusts here on the Doppler radar, 96 right now, up just north of Ruskin. Just south of Bloomingdale there, you can see 74, 70. And those strong winds, guess where they're headed? Over towards Bartow into Polk County. So again, a flood emergency now into Polk County. This may be extended into Orange, Osceola, and Lake County on that trajectory with the very heavy rain. And look at these winds, folks. They continue to increase big time, even up towards Daytona Beach. Cam, 70-mile-an-hour wind gust just now.
That's right. We got a 71-mile-per-hour wind gust up in Leesburg earlier, and lots of storm reports, including reports of a tornado that was probably likely here over in Cocoa Beach. It was actually caused some damage at one of the bank buildings there in Cocoa Beach, a Wells Fargo bank building where Tony Atkins, was reporting out live. Look at all the numerous storm reports are starting to pile up here, not only just wind and rain, but reports of tornadoes. Thankfully, we do believe the severe weather threat is over for us, but the wind and the rain threat still remains. Here's a look at how much additional rainfall we could see from now into early Friday. Most of us, I think, will be about 5 to 8 inches of additional rainfall. The Futurecast wants to bring in an additional 8 to 12. I don't really think that's going to be the case. We could see an additional 8 to 10, but an additional foot seems to be very unlikely. But again, 5 to 8 inches is not out of the question. Tony just showed you how heavy that rain is falling out right now. So let's go county by county and show you the worst of the weather from now till Thursday, how much more additional rainfall we could see, and on top of that, the winds, which we haven't even seen the worst of it yet. We're starting to get into it though. Rainfall amounts about 4 to 8 inches of rainfall, additional rainfall for Osceola and Polk counties. For Orange and also Seminole counties, I think it's going to be an additional 6 to 10 inches of rainfall. Wind gusts between 70 to 80 miles per hour. We're going to start to see that very soon, I think, over the next hour or two here in all the Orlando metro counties. Sustained winds about 50 to 65 miles per hour. For areas out towards the west here, for Marion, Sumter, and Lake counties, we're in the thick of it right now. Very heavy rain with additional 6 to 10 inches of rainfall expected. An isolated area could pick up a foot, but again, that's going to be very isolated. Gusts, they're happening right now. We're already seeing gusts between 70 to 80 miles per hour. Sustained winds about 50 to 60, and the worst of the weather from right now until about early tomorrow morning. So our timeline for Milton: flooding downpours and hurricane force wind gusts. Most of us will see tropical storm strength winds that we are expecting tomorrow morning. Squally rain bands, still strong winds, but not as strong as what we're expecting, I would say, between midnight and 5 a.m. And then tomorrow afternoon, that's when Milton will move into the Atlantic and we'll see coastal rain showers, but inland spots, I think, will finally get a little bit of reprieve from all of this rainfall that we're seeing right now. Back to you guys.
All right, Cam, thank you. Many people evacuated because they simply saw the size of Milton heading towards them, and they evacuated towards Central Florida.
Yeah, some of those people staying in Osceola County tonight. Until the storm passes, they're going to stay there. WESH 2's Gail Pasco-Brown live in Kissimmee right now, where evacuees are riding out the storm, hoping for the best. And Gail, a lot of them told you earlier, you were saying that they are just happy to be out the way and safe where they are. We can see behind you the winds really starting to pick up.
Yeah. Absolutely. I was just listening to the meteorologist talk about it. As they were talking about it, it was beating us up pretty bad here. This is the sideways, these winds that are going here, and you can see the rain too. It's just rolling, man, I'm telling you. But the good thing is the people are inside safe and sound. We hope that everybody's inside safe and sound. We are here at the Quality Inn in East Osceola County, not far from St. Cloud, where I talked to a number of people who sought refuge here from Hurricane Milton. Families near and far fleeing Hurricane Milton sought refuge at the Quality Inn and Suites on Earl Bronson Highway in Kissimmee. The hotel is fully sold out for the next few days.
Since Sunday morning, it's been a madhouse here for reservations, guests coming and going, bringing their fur guests, everything. Like, we even have my employees staying here for the safety to make sure we can cook breakfast and still service rooms every day.
Among the evacuees, Celia Hernandez from Port Richey, Florida, who says they're still reeling from Hurricane Helene and all the debris that's left behind.
That's like a life or death situation at this point in Pasco County. Plus, we have not even recovered. People lost their homes, family members. I have family members that lost their homes, floods. The water covered them or whatever. So I feel like it was either leave or there was no telling what would have happened at this point.
Carrie Ryan and her dogs were evacuated from Rotunda West on the West Coast between Fort Myers and Tampa.
We had no other choice. We tried to find a hotel, and this was the first one that came up that was vacant. And then we headed out early in the morning, so not a lot of traffic. We arrived yesterday, and we're glad we left because now they just evacuated Zone C, and we're in Zone B.
The Gerards drove to the hotel from Lakeland. They live in a manufactured home community and were worried about Milton's rains and winds.
Winds mainly because of the manufactured home. We don't know how steady they would be or sturdy they would be.
And the winds and the rains are still a factor here, as you can see, still kicking up here. So this is one of the reasons why you or anybody else does not need to be on the roads. Leave that to the first responders and local law enforcement. I'm Gail Pasco-Brown, live in Osceola County for WESH 2 News.
Especially at the end of Gail's live shot, you can hear that howling from the wind just starting to pound in Osceola County. I'm expecting those power outage numbers to potentially go up in the county, as Tony mentioned just a few moments ago. Here's another live look right now, though, towards downtown Tampa, where we have been seeing lightning from this picture right here. very telling of what they've experienced throughout the night tonight. They wind up being on the north side of the eye wall, making landfall, maybe within 10 miles from this location, but it possibly saved the Bay of Tampa when that happened because the worst of the storm surge did not go there. They are, though, dealing with the strong winds that come with it whenever you see a strong system come through that area.
Yeah, and like Central Florida, Palm Beach County has actually been dealing just a ton of tornado warnings today. There's been widespread damage that we've been seeing, and it's been reported now. A new video out of Wellington from earlier today. Actually, we're with Shane Wright. He was reporting from Wellington earlier. Shane, can you just walk us through what we're seeing?
Hey, good evening to you, Stuart and Summer. It's been a long and wild day and scary day for a lot of people here in Palm Beach County along the Palm Beaches and the Treasure Coast. At least 9 confirmed tornadoes are touching down, an unprecedented day. That's according to the National Weather Service out of Miami. One of those tornadoes touching down here in the Wellington area in western Palm Beach County. As you can see here, a tree in this particular home snapped in half. It's like someone came through with a saw and just snapped this tree or cut it in half. Another tree in this yard also cut in half. But if you really want to see the cause of the tornado that came through this area, you want to go next door here to this home. You can barely see the door because all of the debris, all of the tree branches that have been broken off are covering the door. And what you will see now is a car that has been flipped on its side right in front of the door to this home. Me and my photographer were walking through this place trying to figure out exactly how this car landed here because you don't see a direct path of where it may have flipped from or landed. It's like someone picked up this car and put it directly in front of that door. We saw the homeowners come by not too long ago to get some of their belongings out of his home. This is just one of about 5 or 6 homes on the street that have been severely damaged by this tornado. They've actually put X's, as you can see one here, an orange X on this home. This is for first responders and for emergency officials who have come by after that to know that this home has been cleared and everyone has made it out safely. We're sitting waiting of any reports of any injuries in this area. I did speak to one gentleman, one teenager who was in a home with his dad, saw the tornado out their window. He said he was scared to death, and they waited inside, finally came out and decided to help some of these homeowners here move some of the debris from off of the road into the curb, just so first responders can get in here and help anybody they could help. And you got to think about this. These people, when they woke up this morning, they didn't think this was going to happen today. Today was supposed to be a day to prepare for anything that Hurricane Milton might bring, and they were preparing, some people boarding up their homes, and then those rain bands, those initial rain bands came through and just brought this tornadic activity likes that we have not seen here in Palm Beach County along the Treasure Coast. Our viewing area here down here extends from the Boca Raton area, Palm Beach County, all the way to Indian River County. And again, at least 9 confirmed tornadoes. They're expecting that there will be more confirmed that have touched down in this area. So these people, they have a long road to recover for their home, and hopefully everyone on this street made it out safely.
I guess we're going to move on, Shane. We'll try to check in with him a little bit later on. The roof, though, was torn off at this location over in A1A in Cocoa Beach. This is from the Wells Fargo building. This is what we were learning from Tony Atkins a little bit ago in his live shot, where he was about a mile, he said, down the road. And some neighbors were reporting that pieces of the roof were in their yards and actually slammed into one of their vehicles. This is video that he received from some folks who were down in that area where you can see the damage from there. This is also an area where we saw a tornado warning from earlier today.
Yeah, and you just have to, your hearts go out to them, because you can only imagine being, in your safe space and, watching, the phone or the TV or listening to the radio and hearing it all happen around you. It's dark outside and you don't know what's going to happen. And then when it all comes to a clear, you see all of this damage and see that your neighbors have been struggling with an actual tornado touching down in their yard. It's just terrifying to see. Now we want to talk about Volusia County. A mandatory evacuation order is in effect in parts of Volusia County tonight.
WESH News' Haley Crumblehome joins us now live from Daytona Beach. Haley, you're holding a branch there. We see the winds are whipping, so you can hold down your hat. But what's it been like so far for you?
Well, it's been pretty windy, Stuart. Right now we're just seeing small debris like this, but the wind is just pounding us, so I think that's going to change. At this point, we're getting a lot of rain. You can see this parking lot has been filling with water, and the time that we've been here, and we have seen a few concerning things. We saw what looked like some popping. It might have been some of the power line related things just kind of lighting up the sky, a bit of a bluish green. At this point, at last check, there were really still in the hundreds, heading towards 1,000 people without power just from one power company. But obviously this is evolving and ever changing, and entirely possible that we'll see a lot more people without power. I think we do have some video from earlier tonight. People are following those evacuation orders, but just because the residents have left, it doesn't mean law enforcement has. They have people out here, they're checking on businesses, they're making sure that things are going okay here downtown. And when we heard from the county earlier today, they said people have clearly been listening to those evacuation orders. They had about 800 people at their shelters throughout the county. And I think we mentioned this earlier, but we are currently also in a curfew for Volusia County. So even if you're not in an evacuation area, you are not supposed to be out right now. That curfew is in effect until 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. Live in Volusia County, Haley Crumble-Home, WESH 2 News.
Yeah, obviously, you guys are preparing for whatever could come. Tony's been talking about the wraparound effect. Have any of the businesses or people that you've spoken to mentioned that? Well, clearly you're getting blown down the alleyway right now. Did the winds pick up there on you? What's going on?
Yeah, we're just sorry. I was a little bit worried we were about to get hit with something. We're okay. We'll head back over to where it's kind of coming down. You know, it's just very windy, and it's coming in and out, and hard to hear you a little bit, obviously, with how loud it is. At this point, you know, it comes in gusts. It'll calm down a bit, and then it'll get strong again. So you never really know when it's going to pick up to the point that you need to run down into this parking garage where we're getting cover. There are still just a few cars every once in a while we'll see out here, and you can tell just with every hour that passes, the conditions are getting worse. So if you can get home, you should probably be staying home at this point, clearly.
You're not hitting yourself, but please stay safe out there. We saw those winds wrapping around and hitting her right there.
She's doing it so other people don't have to. You can just look here and know not to go outside. All right, so we see the winds picking up there in her live shot. We saw it in Tony's live shot. We're pretty much seeing it in every live shot. How are we looking with the worst winds? Because we're seeing it now, but this is not the worst of it yet.
It depends on where you are. You know, Tampa Bay, you're just getting out of the worst of it. But I want to show you. You take a look at the cone, and you take the cone, right? You take the center point. The speed, it seems to be in pretty good shape here. Maybe just a little bit quicker than what the Hurricane Center is doing. But the center of circulation is going to be very close to that red line, meaning along that red line, that's the timing of the center of that storm and the strongest winds. This is the corridor in the red where I think we're going to have the strongest winds tonight. Now the center is lining up pretty good. It's coming into southwestern Polk County just now. It's going to take a path very close to Kissimmee at 8 a.m. But the strongest winds will still reach as far north potentially here as Orlando, depending upon any future deviation in that track. So 2 a.m. In around St. Cloud, Kissimmee, 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and then back towards the coast there, towards Port Canaveral, guys, right around 8 a.m. in the morning. Again, following the track of the strongest winds only. In the red here, we're going to have gusts that we do believe will be quite strong. In fact, we just had a gust up in Leesburg of 71 miles an hour. Downtown Orlando, blinding rains. Look at that, just going across the screen there. Flood emergency has been expanded. We'll continue to monitor this now into southern sections there of Sumter County. We'll have to wait and see if this begins to move along and just north of the center of that circulation. Could Orlando get into it with the heavy rain working your way? We believe that is a distinct possibility. So for me, again, we're watching the surge. That's a biggie. The severe weather threat has ended. The wind, we're in it now. We'll be in it through 8 a.m. on the coast there up towards Port Canaveral. And then last but not least, we take a look down at the flooding that is ongoing right now and will continue right through daybreak tomorrow morning. With more on Milton and what to expect here in Central Florida, here's Cam.
Here's a look at some of the top wind gusts we've seen here. It looks like the graphic's stuck. Hello, let's move this along. We are expecting some of the top wind gusts over 100 miles per hour in Sarasota. That was out by Tampa Bay as it made landfall. Now, as we go through the day tonight, though, and the rest of the evening to the overnight hours. We're still looking at Category 1 strength wind gusts, as Tony showed you earlier. Here's a look at Futurecast now, where we're going to time it out for you. So just after midnight, we're expecting wind gusts around 79 miles per hour in Claremont, 70 in Leesburg. And as that center circulation goes south of Orlando, you see the winds drop a bit. So it's like basically the calm in the center of the circulation, or the eye, as it moves into Osceola County just around 1 to 2 a.m. there. Then that center circulation starts to move off to the east. It starts to pick up some steam, but we're still going to see strong winds as that core starts to move into Brevard County. So notice the winds calm down a bit in Brevard County, but the winds are still ramped up in St. Cloud, a gust of around 70 miles per hour, 65 in Sanford, 65 in Daytona Beach. This is around 4 to 5 o'clock in the morning. Then finally, the core, the center circulation of the storm, moves offshore, where the strongest winds will move offshore with it. And as we go into tomorrow morning around 8 a.m., still quite breezy, but not as strong. Winds will be around 30 to 40 miles per hour. With the exception of the coast, it's going to be a bit stronger because you'll still be closer to the core of the circulation. Right now, Tony says the 11 o'clock advisory is now a Cat 2 hurricane. Now I'm going to step off and see if we can pull up that graphic really fast. It is now a Cat 2 hurricane with winds of 105 miles per hour, moving east-northeast at 16, pressure at 960. So the 11 o'clock advisory literally just rolled in. It is now a Cat 5 hurricane. And Tony, let me look really fast and see where the center of circulation is now, just to pull that up.
Polk County there, Kim, and it's moving off towards the east-northeast at, again, 16 miles an hour. So it's sped up just a little bit, east-northeast at 16.
So the center circulation is now right over Polk County and about 75 miles southwest of Orlando, Florida. But again, we still believe that center circulation will stay south of Orlando, but right now it's over Polk County. Taking a look at our Futurecast winds, continuing this graphic, still a Cat 2 hurricane as it's inland, and then as we go into tomorrow morning, the winds will start to die down with exception for areas along the coast. Wind speeds still quite breezy into the afternoon for areas along the coast. And then finally, we get some improvement as we go into Friday with those winds. So here's a look at your 7-day forecast here. We're still in the thick of it right now. We'll be through tomorrow morning, unfortunately, especially for areas along the coast. That will last actually through tomorrow afternoon. And then after Milton finally moves away from us, we do get in some better weather. Look at that. We actually get some sunshine out there, nice conditions, dry weather, and even a taste of fall with those overnight lows in the 60s. Guys, back to you.
All right, Cam, thank you so much. Of course, they opened shelters earlier today in Seminole County.
Yeah, WESH's Greg Fox is at a shelter. He's at Bentley Elementary School in Sanford, where people have been moving in all day. Greg?
Well, and Bentley Elementary is unique among the 8 shelters in Seminole County, as you can see by the ambulance behind me, that it is a special needs shelter. And as we give you a look through the door here past the hurricane shutters that they just pulled down a short while ago, they have a nursing staff inside for that. It's also a pet-friendly shelter, and so it's handling multiple needs for residents in Seminole County. Let's show you some video from earlier today. We were at Lyman High School, which is also a pet-friendly shelter. This woman was bussed over from her home with her cats and helped in through a driving rain. The county issued an evacuation order for those with special needs in flood-prone areas and in mobile home communities today. People are responding. More than 700 people checked into shelters as of early this evening. They can keep on coming in through the night, bring snacks, bring your medications, something comfortable for sleeping. As you just heard, the storm has picked up speed, so it's going to get here sooner. Staff and volunteers will be doing their best to accommodate everyone who comes in.
So have some patience, show some compassion, and ultimately, in a couple of days, we'll find our place on the other side.
And that recovery is going to be probably pretty long term, with some very high floods expecting, a lot of water, a lot of rain, and some pretty severe winds. And as everybody's probably seen, tornadoes.
Duke Energy provides about half of the power in Seminole County. Across the state, it has 16,000 crews staged in the villages and in Davenport ready to roll to areas that lose power to restore it. They're predicting from Pinellas County through east central Florida, 1 million residential and business customers losing power from Milton. And as we give you a live look here, as the wind has again continued to cycle upward, it's really blowing those trees around outside Bentley Elementary School, just over there beyond the parking lot where many people have gotten comfortable here. About 100 people that have moved into Bentley Elementary School's shelter here to get away from the elements until Milton safely passes and they can go back to their homes and see what potentially what kind of damage they may face there.
All right, Greg, thank you so much. Of course, we do have crews throughout the area. Let's go now to Orange County. Earlier today, Michelle Meredith was inside the Orange County Emergency Operations Center, learning from officials what they were doing to prepare for the storm.
Yeah, and then before that, she was actually out at a shopping center where she found the sole person running around moments before the storm looking for stuff. So now she is heading on the 429 to Apopka. She's in the car driving right now, or in the passenger seat, I should say. Michelle, how's it looking out there on the roads?
Well, it's starting to look pretty rough. I want to show you our little roof camera here. The winds are really throwing that water around, and I have to tell you, I hope you're getting the view that we're getting. Sometimes it reminds me when the water passes on the road, it kind of reminds me of clouds in the sky. We have seen some tree debris. And one thing we haven't seen, I'll tell you, I'm going to switch to our little camera in the front here. If you could see it here. I think the roof camera is better. And as we said earlier, we saw this very confused crane who lived to see another day. But one thing we haven't seen are cars, except we saw one big tanker full of gas, which, as we know, is well needed because we haven't, it's been in short supply for so many days. Occasionally we hit little splotches of darkness and we're wondering if that's the power out. And from what I'm hearing, there's tens of thousands of people without power. So that might just be what we're seeing. And I'm going to throw it back to you as we continue to head north on 429.
I've been scrolling social media today to try and see some of the images throughout our area, and one person's been posting throughout the day today, and her first retired hurricane season, Miss Claire Metz.
Yeah, we miss her. Let's go ahead and get you out to Volusia County. She's actually joining us by phone. Claire, how's it looking out there?
And I'm sorry it's under these circumstances, that's for sure. I'll tell you what, it seemed like it was going to be, lesser than what I thought initially, but all of a sudden, now the storm's coming through and we're kind of on that dirty side of the storm. So just a short while ago, I heard this really bizarre noise. Can you hear me? You guys hear me well?
We're seeing damage in Volusia County as you're talking.
Okay, good. Mm-hmm. Well, I heard this very bizarre noise, and I just stepped out my front door, and I saw what looked like lightning, but instead I know was transformers flowing, because then the entire power in my area went out. And we're kind of in Daytona Beach Shores area, and everyone's out. I kind of did a little look around, and everyone's out. So I was hoping we'd hold power a little longer than this, but no such luck. And so the winds are getting just fierce right now. And the rain isn't incredibly significant, at least at where I'm at, but it's wind-driven. So it seems like it's a lot more than it is. But I can kind of tell on my driveway when we start to flood, because I've got some sandbags up at the front door. When we start to flood, I can kind of tell where the water's coming from. It's really wind that is the most significant factor right now. And it's scary because you hear these trees going and you hear the transformers going. And I'm usually out in it, not at home watching it. So that's been a little stunning for old Claire Metz here, that's for sure.
Claire,
I hope all you guys are doing okay.
We're doing great, and we're glad to hear from you. Claire, obviously you covered Nicole and Ian as it hit Volusia County. Are you hearing from some of the people who had flooding issues then, today, whether or not they're seeing flooding issues out their own doors?
So far, no. A lot of my friends and colleagues are in that Ian and Nicole path. And of course, I dealt with that for 2 years ago, and then the aftermath and all that. So far, we're holding our own. But again, this is just happening in Volusia in a big way. Likely a Category 1, maybe a 2. I'm not really sure, but likely a 1. And any little damage will be hard pressed to deal with and to recover from on our dunes and our ocean front. All of these folks along Daytona Beach shores, Daytona Beach, Wilton by the Sea, Ponce Inlet, they have all just struggled to rebuild, get their seawalls up, get their pools back in, get it all going. The hotels, the condominiums. So this is a real blow. But I'm praying that these new reinforced seawalls, that some of the new methods of building literally will change the outcome of a storm like this. And again, this is not a direct hit in Volusia County. I thank God, because I'm right here watching it all happen. Or I don't think necessarily in Brevard, but we're getting that, crazy storm coming around, that dirty side of the storm. So we're feeling Cat 1, maybe Cat 2 winds. I'm seeing a little bit of trees down, a little bit of branches down, a little bit of damage, but nothing massively significant yet. My thoughts are with our friends on the West Coast and all of these folks dealing with this tornado damage. You're looking at all these tornadoes coming in before the hurricane. Oh, my Lord. You just wonder what is in the plan for all of us. But so I just pray, Florida strong. That's all I can say, guys.
Well, Claire, thank you so much. It's so good to hear from you, and especially on air. Please be safe. You certainly are not alone. We have about 16,000, just over 16,200 customers without power currently in Volusia County. So we know that they are in the dark along with you and your neighbors there. But please be safe.
We'll check in later on,
We
Claire.
will.
Thank you. WESH 2 News
Thanks,
at
Howard.
11. Continuing coverage starts right now.
You're watching continuing coverage of Milton from WESH 2.
Now at 11, Hurricane Milton makes landfall as a Category 3 storm.
Hours before the worst of the storm arrived, tornadoes spawned all over Florida.
Now at this point, it's too dangerous to evacuate safely, so you have to shelter in place and just hunker down.
We've learned at least several people are dead, and we won't know the extent of the damage until after the storm blows over.
WESH 2 has reporters all over Central Florida.
The wind gusts have really started to pick up in the last 15 minutes.
We're giving you a look at the worst damage.
Look at this column. This is a Wells Fargo bank, and you could just really a testament to how strong the winds is.
Stick with WESH 2 for live team coverage with no commercial breaks during Hurricane Milton.
One of the areas hit by some of the tornadoes that rolled through early today was Fort Myers Beach. They're still recovering from Ian from a few years ago, and they're getting hammered again tonight. Not the worst of the storm, but definitely not any conditions that these folks down in South Florida need to experience.
And moments ago, we did get that 11 p.m. advisory. So what were the major takeaways?
It's still a Category 2 hurricane, even inland. It's about 75 miles southwest of Orlando, and the center of circulation is expected to move over Central Florida, likely south of Orlando, moving over Polk, Osceola, and into Brevard County. So we're expecting the strongest of the winds to really arrive overnight tonight.
And people obviously still dealing with flash flooding.
We're just getting surprised by that message,
emergency
Tony?
alert.
No. Flash flood warning now.
Oh, yeah, that does not surprise us at all.
So what I'm concerned with, the flash flood emergency has been expanding from Tampa into southern Sumter County. That's, I think, could be coming for us here over the next hour or two, depending upon how these rainfall rates go. Listen, with the new cone, I wanted to update the timing of the worst winds. Now, the winds are going to be strong even north of this main corridor. This is the center of the storm where the eye is going across, and that's the most likely place for the strongest winds. Now, that's not I don't want to lower the expectations for the winds up here. We just had wind gusts in the 70s north of the cone, but they may actually be a little bit higher down here later on. So 2, 4, 6, 8 well offshore. I think by that point in time, everything's pulling away. In the orange, we're still going to see gusts that could exceed 75 miles an hour. It's becoming more of an extratropical type of system here once it moves east of us. And what that tends to do is just kind of enhance the winds on the northern side of the center of circulation. So that's one of the things we're going to be watching. Strong gusty winds here for sure. as we head through the overnight time frame and then on into the morning hours. More live pictures for you outside right now. You can see down towards Lake Eola, plenty of gusty winds. There's the flood emergency now. That extends from Tampa to Winter Haven, very close to Celebration, on into southern Sumter County. We'll watch the trends on the radar. You can see the circulation center right in here coming in the southwest Polk County. It's going to take that trek across very close to Cocoa Beach, and this is where the strongest winds usually line up. Now, that's not to say there's not going to be strong winds to the north, but the best chance for the long-lived strongest wind band, I think, is going to be down here. But there will be gusts in the 70s from Bushnell to Orlando and even up towards northern Brevard County. We've had gusts up towards Daytona Beach and Leesburg already in the 60s and low 70s. Look at this rain band here. Dark orange. It is just slowly moving across the I-4 corridor. Recent winds here now, 76 and 63. It is beginning to weaken a little bit as it's coming up I-4 just to the south of that corridor. You can see right there, look at that, 79, 63, 60. It's this stretch right in here where I believe the strongest winds are going to track tonight as we see Milton cross the peninsula. Farther to the north, we've got some good wind here over towards Ocala. You saw Leesburg there, a recent wind gust of 75 hurricane force gusts now in Leesburg with the center of the storm well to the south. Look at Daytona Beach there, a wind gust 76 miles an hour. So there's a whole lot going on. There's the flood warning here from Tampa to Winter Haven. There's the brand new flood warning right here from Sanford back towards Claremont and Orlando as that big heavy rain band is now coming right over the core of the I-4 corridor there up towards Sanford and DeLand. And then you can see right here towards Daytona Beach yet another flood warning. Oh boy, I tell you what, that rain cam is adding on up.
Yes, it is. In fact, look at how much rainfall we've already seen today so far. 9 inches of rainfall in portions of Polk as well as Sumter County. So that's why it's no surprise these areas are under a flash flood warning and even flash flood emergency there for portions of Polk County. About 6 inches of rain even in the Orlando metro, stretching from Daytona down into Sanford. We picked up about half a foot of rainfall already, and that includes areas in eastern Orange County where we had torrential rainfall there, and also eastern Osceola County. This is a lot of rainfall. How much additional rainfall could we possibly see between now and early Friday? Well, we are looking at additional 5 to 8 inches in this swath here, stretching along the I-4 corridor points north. The further south you are, the less rain amounts. So southern Brevard County and Osceola counties, we're talking about an additional 1 to 2 inches, while areas to the north, I would say an additional 5 to 8, with the areas farther north and west and Marion County about 3 to 5. There could be the potential for some areas that could pick up an additional 10 to possibly a foot of rain, although it's going to be very, very, very localized though. And so all that rain has to go somewhere, right? So that is going to inundate our local creeks, rivers, and streams, including the St. Johns, which is notorious for flooding here. So right now at the St. Johns River at Lake Harney, it is at 6.5. It's expected to crest at 9.8 on Monday. And at 9.8, we are expecting water to enter the first-story homes at the St. Johns River at Lake Harney. For the St. Johns River at Sanford, right now it's at 4.4. It's expected to crest on Monday at 6.8. That is high enough that we could see water at homes at Stone Island. And for folks along the St. Johns River at Astor, it's already at action stage, well above that. In fact, now it's expected to crest at 4.5 feet. That means many structures at the St. Johns River in Astor are expected to flood, unfortunately. We are expecting the river to crest on Monday. That's because it takes a few days for all the water to drain down into the basin of the St. Johns River and then actually crest. And that's why, even though it's Wednesday night, we're really not expecting the river to crest until Monday. And right now for the St. Johns River at DeLand, 3.5 feet right now, expected to crest on Monday at 5.2 feet. And if that happens, we are expecting very close to Pier 44 Marina being submerged and likely water into the homes and buildings around Pontoon Island. So all this rain going to be really detrimental for us. I'll also talk about the winds as well. That's going to be coming up in our next weather hit. Back to you guys.
All right, Cam, thank you. For hours now, heavy rain and wind has been pounding, of course, the Tampa Bay area.
Yeah, Justin Schecker went over the other side of I-4. The biggest concern going in, Justin, was the storm surge and, of course, the strong winds. You're underneath a safe area right now. What are the conditions like?
Well, Tampa dodged a direct hit from Hurricane Milton. This major hurricane made landfall about 60 miles south of us in Siesta Key near Sarasota. But take a live look right now. The winds are relentless. We are feeling those hurricane force winds. The Hillsborough County Sheriff posted they've recorded wind gusts around 75 miles per hour. And this storm is definitely a rainmaker. The rain has been relentless since about 6 o'clock, since we moved from Bayshore Boulevard by downtown to our safer location out of the evacuation zone just down the street from the Hard Rock Casino. Now, earlier we saw some transformers blow off in the distance. I can tell you there are power outages throughout Hillsborough County. The good news is there was that reverse storm surge over by the bay. I'm seeing reports that the water was sucked out of the bay just like it was 2 years ago during Hurricane Ian. We know that surge was a major concern, especially after that flooding 2 weeks ago from Helene. But again, we're still feeling those hurricane force winds. We've seen some debris flying this way, which is why we've moved closer to the building to avoid getting hit by anything. Stuart, Summer?
And Justin, obviously, you were out the bay earlier today. You were closer to the water, I should say. A lot of people have been wondering what the conditions like were down there. Obviously, the ocean was starting to come up a little bit, but then you said the water got sucked out, which is a great thing. Have you heard any reports from people that were a little bit further south near Sarasota, Siesta Key?
I've really been just checking social media all night long. We've really been hunkered down here in this safe location, but I know the storm surge was a much bigger problem further south in the Manatee County, Sarasota County area, but luckily here in Hillsborough County, the water rising over into the land was not as big of an issue. But again, this is a rainmaker. There is a flash flood warning here in Tampa that is now stretching across I-4, and just these wind gusts are blowing out transformers. A lot of the Tampa area will be in the dark, and it's just not safe to be outside right now.
Justin, we can't really tell from your live shot because you are underneath that awning, which is, of course, a safe place to be where we want you to be. But has it been, you keep saying it's a rainmaker, but it looks like you're about to get blown over. So which one's more severe right now, the rain or the wind?
Well, I'll step out of the way so our photographer, Pete, can show you. The rain is being whipped around in all directions, and we've really felt the strongest wind gusts since after 10 o'clock here in our safer location. So it's really that combination, the downpour with the hurricane force winds, just making it awful conditions. Hopefully most people here in the Tampa Bay area have hunkered down, listened to local officials. This is not a night to be outside. And I was here 2 years ago for Hurricane Ian, which made landfall in the Fort Myers area. These conditions are way worse as we get another big wind gust blowing this way. But again, the good news, it appears the storm surge we were also fearful of was not as big of an impact, but there's going to be down trees, down power lines, and just so much rain in an area that's already been saturated from the rain all summer long. Reporting live in Tampa, I'm Justin Schecker, WESH 2 News.
All right, Justin, stay safe out there.
My goodness.
Wow. This is
Tropicana Field. This is where the Tampa Bay Rays play, and you can see the inside of the dome there, the lights. Very visible there. The team just playing there a few weeks ago. And now this is also where we had first responders that were staged, including line crews and people that could go out to help people who may have been hurt or injured from this storm, help clean things up as well. And now the roof is gone from the building. This is a major deal because this venue has survived several other tropical systems that have come through the area, but none as impressive as what Milton has done to this facility tonight. We probably need to get Sports Director Darren Stolz in to talk about this facility. It's an older facility, but not something anybody expected because literally people were housed inside there. I'm not sure if any of that debris from the ripped off roof fell inside and could have actually hurt someone or anything like that. But these pictures that we are seeing live right now, just a little bit away from where Justin's live shop was located, show the magnitude of a roof that's now been blown off Tropicana Field.
Wow, hopefully no injuries, but we are working to figure all that out. Meanwhile, we want to take you to some breaking news out of Sumter County. Emergency officials have now suspended all of their emergency services until conditions improve. With sustained winds at 45 miles an hour and over that, emergency vehicles they simply cannot operate safely at this point.
Yeah, the other big story that we're also talking about is the tornadoes that we saw from earlier today and some of that damage that we've seen in several locations. Let's go now to Brevard County, where people are already starting to clean things up. Tony's had one of the most impactful live shots we've seen of people just walking around after seeing the destruction from the tornado, or possible tornado, Tony.
Yeah, it's been a really eventful night here in Cocoa. I want to show you some of the damage we're seeing right now. This is just a look at more damage here to a house here in Cocoa, about 1.5 miles away from where we saw the roof ripped off of that bank. Here's another one. Now, this one is a little more impactful. Now, take a look at the sliding door. Look at the amount of damage, and this is the point of impact. So it's almost like someone took a batarang and just kicked through that door, but just significant damage here from this storm. And as you can imagine, there's a lot of glass and debris, and some debris that you can kind of tell that doesn't belong here in the area. The winds are strong, so at some points these ceiling fans that are above us, it almost seems like they're working and turned on at this point. But here's a look at the yard. There's a snap tree right there. I'm going to pivot around here. We are off the water here. You can see some of the strong damage that has been done to the tree, just a testament to how strong these winds are. Debris on the ground here, as well as just over there you can see the roof of that house just ripped off. Again, we're looking at a house that really has seen some significant damage, one of 2 homes here in the area that have seen some significant damage from that tornadic activity. Obviously, we're still working to get confirmation. Oh my God, Jake. So one of the things here, I just got to get this, dangerous conditions. You know, you want to be careful. Again, this is actually an example of why you want to be safe. Even after a storm passes through, debris everywhere. This is a nail that got stuck in his boot, but just kind of want to show down the road there, or down the field here, you can see a huge amount of that damage there. And I do want to point out, I was trying to explain this earlier, we were having some live shot issues. So look across at the front yard of this house. That is an A-frame. Jake, can we show him that A-frame right in front of the house there? That is from a Wells Fargo bank. We told you about that bank several hours ago. Again, we are 1.5 miles away from that Wells Fargo, and because the winds were so strong, it blew into this front yard, causing the people who live here to go somewhere else. And they were actually hosting a relative, a man, his brother-in-law was staying with them because he had special needs, and now they all have to go somewhere else because of how strong these winds have been. Obviously, as you can see, I cannot really get through that, and I'm not going to try, especially after seeing that nail go through the boot there. But this is just a really, really scary situation for a lot of people in this neighborhood. Fortunately, Stuart, as you mentioned, folks were coming outside of their houses, homes, and sticking together, bringing trucks and whatever they can to clean up the debris. Their concern is that with all of this lying around, obviously they want to help neighbors, but also they got to look out for themselves, because the last thing anybody wants is any of all of this to kick up and blow around. But again, 1.5 miles away, that Wells Fargo, the A-frame right in their front yard. We were looking for that A-frame, and somehow we just ended up over here and found it. So it really is just an eventful day after that those strong winds really ripped through this area. So we're going to continue to take a look at some of the damage here, and we'll have updates all throughout the night. But again, a lot of people here ready to start cleaning up and looking for a safe place to stay tonight, and hopefully things stay calm. It's gusty right now, and the hope is that maybe a little gust will be, there's my hat. So anyway, yeah, they're just hoping that this is the worst of their problems today, after seeing all of this, chaos here earlier this evening.
All right,
I'm reporting live in Brevard County. Tony Atkins, WESH 2 News.
Quick question. I think I may know the answer to this. Well, one, don't try to go back there to get your hat, because we already saw the whole nail situation. Please don't do that. That's too dangerous. Secondly, this looks like it may be the most dramatic footage that we've seen so far today. Would you agree with that? Earlier you were in Merritt Island and we saw kids playing in shin-deep water, but it seems to be more of a wind event where you are now in Cocoa. Would you say that? And is this the most dramatic that you've seen today?
Absolutely, because it's not just, it's such a story. This site is a story that is connected to another site where it began covering this tornadic activity. I went over to the Wells Fargo. That was a mile away. We saw the damage. We showed you the damage. We did not see the roof. And then we drove around looking for more damage and happened to end up over here and found the same roof. I mean, that for me is probably the most incredible thing I've seen in terms of a weather event. And by chance, we happened to find a roof that was missing from another site that we covered just by randomly driving around. I think just for me personally, I learned so much about storms. Like this is very serious stuff. You want to be safe where you walk. You want to be safe. You want to hunker down. These people were thinking, they thought they were safe. So I would say, yes, this is a very serious event. And yeah, this is probably the most incredible thing I've seen in covering weather for 10 years.
All right, Tony Atkins reporting for us in Cocoa. And, you know, just another vivid reminder there, it is not safe to go outside right now. I know you may be tempted to go outside and look at some of the damage that we're showing you. Let us show it to you, and you just wait inside, because it could be something as simple as a nail, and then you need a tetanus shot, you know, at very least.
Brevard County has some shelters that are open, though, because some of those people in that neighborhood may need to go there. Port St. John Community Center has a shelter are open right now in the Cocoa and Melbourne areas, and Mico as well. So seek that shelter if you must now leave your home.
It's really interesting as we're covering it from county to county to see where we're having major wind events versus rain events, because we know it's a rainmaker, but you know, then we look at his live shot and it's like, oh no, this is definitely a wind maker here.
That's right. So right now, Brevard County and Osceola County, most of those areas are getting a break from the rain, but the rain shield's more up north. But you saw the winds. I mean, you saw all the damage out there. And now we're seeing that center of circulation from Milton moving over Polk County. So Polk County is really getting the brunt of the winds in central Florida at the moment.
Yeah, and we're also seeing the progression of the power outages go up from the west side of the peninsula and back towards the east side. Let me show you this graphic. What we like to do is show you what the power situation is in storms like this one right here. And you can see that now in Polk County, 62,000 people without power. Up in Marion County, 40,000 people without power. Those numbers are growing, and that is well to the north of the center of our circulation. And you know, these numbers are going to go up. That blue there in Osceola and over towards Brevard County, that's going to change as we get deeper into the night, especially as Milton continues now to pass through southern Polk County, central Osceola County, and central Brevard County. There's your time. It's going to be the worst of the winds right around Winter Haven, 2 a.m., 4 a.m., St. Cloud, Kissimmee, the Orlando area, 5, 6 o'clock, Cocoa, back towards Bithlo, and then over towards Cocoa Beach. The winds are quite strong, though, well north of the area as well. We've had wind gusts in the mid-70s, hurricane-force wind gusts in several locations tonight, well north of the center of that circulation, which is going by off towards our south. Live look in now on I-4. You can see the wind blowing the rain around on the I-4 corridor. Now, there's our center of circulation right here into southwestern Polk County. It's going to continue to ride down towards the east-northeast. So it's this stretch right here, right around that, the remnants of the eye. They're going to see some very strong winds. The winds are going to be strong, though, even north of there. Don't get me wrong. But the important thing now is just north of the center of circulation. Look at the reds now picking on up. We are going to be looking at incredibly heavy rainfall rates here from the Four Corners up towards Seminole County, beginning to develop there for you on into Volusia County as well. Let's take a look at a different vantage point now of what's going on when it comes to flood warnings and flood emergencies. Most of us are under flood warnings, but there is a flood emergency now from Winter Haven up 75 there into southern Sumter County, and this could be extended here farther to the east as we get deeper into the night. There is that center of circulation kind of riding right along that line. That's where we think some of the strongest winds should line up tonight. It's a rural area, but it's an area that's going to see a lot of wind. The backside now of the storm is inching closer and closer towards the western side of the peninsula. Some of the latest winds here, when we look at the velocity product, pinging 65, 75, even close to 80 right on top of the I-4 corridor. And some of the recent wind gusts, Winter Haven, 79. Back towards OIA, Orlando Executive, 55, 64 miles an hour. Back towards the coast, the winds are in the mid-40s, but those are going to pick up later on tonight. Up to the north, look at that. Daytona Beach, a 76-mile-an-hour wind gust. You heard Claire Metz talking about the winds picking up there. So the bottom line, the worst of the weather, not done yet, Cam. That's going to take about another 6 hours.
That's right. Here's a look at the top wind gusts we've seen across Central Florida. As Tony mentioned, we had that one registered at 76 miles per hour in Daytona Beach, but we saw wind gusts as strong as 75 in Leesburg. Sanford International, 63-mile-per-hour wind gusts, as well as Orlando Executive right around the 60s. Look at the sustained winds right now. So they're coming in gusty out of the south-southwest. Here's the center of the circulation here, as Tony mentioned earlier. You can clearly see it as you take a look at the wind arrows there. It's right now over Polk County, and it's going to stay south of Orlando as it treks east across Central Florida. But sustained winds right now between 40 to 55 miles per hour. So this is tropical storm strength winds, and these are not even the wind gusts. Once you factor in the wind gusts, we're talking about wind gusts of 79 right now. So that's easily hurricane force winds there. 70 in Leesburg at the moment, but we registered 75 earlier this evening. So we're really starting to see the thick of it for our far western counties in terms of the winds. We're going to continue to see those Category 1 strength winds. They're about the next hour or so. So I think this particular futurecast model is a tad slow in bringing it in. Then as we go into around 2 to 3 o'clock, those tropical storm strength winds / Cat 1 hurricane winds will be right around 3 to 4 o'clock for Osceola and Brevard counties. We'll see winds around 70 miles per hour in St. Cloud, easily over 70 miles per hour in St. Cloud, roughly 70 in Kissimmee, 65-mile-per-hour wind gusts in Orlando around 3 to 4 o'clock, 65-mile-per-hour winds in Sanford. Eventually, that center circulation will make its way offshore, and as it does so, winds will ease off a bit for inland areas. So by about 7 to 8 o'clock, so by daybreak tomorrow morning, the worst of the winds will be gone, but areas along the coast, though, are still going to see those strong winds. That's because, again, Milton moves offshore, but on the backside of it, we're still going to see gusty conditions for folks along the coast. So Palm Coast, you're still going to see tropical storm strength winds, as well as Daytona Beach, New Smyrna Beach. Finally, as we go into Thursday afternoon, winds ease off a bit, even for our coastal communities, and then we get back to more typical wind speeds this time of year. We see late Thursday night into Friday. And then speaking of that, here's a look at your Central Florida certified most accurate forecast. So we've got another 12 hours that we're going to see the worst of the weather, mostly for our coastal counties. It's going to be a little bit longer into the afternoon. And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we get some improvement out there, sunshine and overnight lows. Look at that, falling into the 60s, getting a taste of fall.
Looking at your wind gust map, Cam, 92 miles an hour in Tampa. We've got a live shot right now from Tampa along US 92, and you can see what 92 miles an hour looks like as the wind is whipping down this highway and the rain is filling this area as well. We just showed you a couple minutes ago, I think off in the distance there is the Trop, the stadium where the Tampa Bay Rays play, the dome play. It's no longer a dome because it doesn't have a roof anymore. The roof actually blew off from Tropicana Field earlier tonight, and the 92-mile-an-hour wind gusts that this area is still sustaining at this moment, part of that reason why.